Hello. Hey, Simone. Hey, Fur Mama. Hey, Robin. Hello, hello. Hello, guys. Hello, Bebop. I'm good. How are you? Yes, Nicole. Hello, lovely. Hey, Mommy. Hello, guys. Hey, Jessica. Thank you, guys, for the heart me's. I appreciate it. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate it. Oop, hold on. Let me get this out. Hello. How are you guys? I feel like I need to be up. I feel like my thing isn't working. Hello. Hey. Aw, thank you, Jessica. I appreciate that. You did watch it, Mommy? Or what'd you think about it? Hello, Nina.
Hey,
Hey.
what's going on?
I did. Nothing much. Hold on. Who's this? Hello, Pamela.
Hello.
Hey, Evan. Hey, guys. Yes, but today we're going to talk about the Karen Reed, guys. If you guys have not heard about the Karen Reed case, you guys, it is a rabbit hole. You can tell me right off the bat that Karen is innocent. Jessica, I'm so glad that you said that because I'm really interested in like what you think. Like honestly, I really am. I think you think she's innocent too. You think she really innocent all the way. So, Nina, innocent or guilty, Karen Reed?
I think she's innocent.
Pam?
Innocent.
Yeah.
It's a setup.
Honestly, I really agree with that. I really do. How many of you guys in the chat have watched any of the trial or the documentary? Let's start with the documentary. Did anybody watch her documentary, The Body in the Snow? Oh. You did? Hello, canceled.
Hey,
You've never heard of this case. All right, so we're going to tell you about the case, guys. This case is a rabbit hole. It is the rabbit hole of all rabbit holes. Um, there is a documentary, A Body in the Snow. I watched it on Prime Video. I'm trying to read the questions. It is. Yep. There's a documentary. It's called Body in the Snow by Karen Reed, guys. I watched it. Let me tell you something about how I feel about Karen Reed. Okay. I personally did not like Karen Reed. I don't like her. I think she's very cocky. She comes off just not likable. Thank you, Sunshine, guys. I really do. Let me start off by saying I really do appreciate the heart me's, guys. If you can like this live so we can get pushed out on FYP, I appreciate it. But yeah, when it comes to Karen Reed, guys, you're right, Mommy. I don't like her attitude. I think she's very cocky. I just did not like her. She was not likable. She did not have the personality that was like, oh, she's a victim, she's this, she's that. And when I started looking into this case, I wanted her to be guilty. I really thought that she was going to be guilty. I heard a little bit about the case and I'm like, here we go, conspiracy, the Karen Reed case, Rachel. And I felt like just because I didn't like her, it was almost like I'm going to go in this deep dive and I'm going to see that she's guilty. However, just because you don't like somebody doesn't mean that they're guilty of murder. And the more and more I looked into this case, I do not see guilt. And as far as I'm concerned, I feel like there's no way a jury can convict her because there is nothing but reasonable doubt. Hey, Hello Mom. Hey, Elaine. Can I give you a little summary of what the case is about, please? Absolutely. All right, let's start. So you got Karen Reed, right? Karen Reed is dating this guy named John O'Keefe. John O'Keefe is a Boston police officer. They go out one night and they go out and meet a bunch of cop friends, right? Whole bunch of cops at this bar. They all go out and they're drinking excessively, like they're drinking, and they're all hanging out. At the end of the night, they want to go back to this guy Brian Albert's house. Brian Albert is another cop. So they go back to his house. Now the whole thing with this is what they're trying to say that Karen Reed did was they're trying to say that when Karen Reed left the bar that night, her and her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, left that bar. They drove to Brian Albert's house where everybody was inside, right? They're all here to meet up to have an after hours gathering. And they're saying that while everybody was inside, her and him argued. He got out of the car. She backed her Lexus SUV into him and ran him over and left him in the snow to die, went home, slept. They're saying that she came back at 6 a.m. looking for him and found him dead in the snow at 6 a.m. That is what she's being accused of. However, I do not believe that that is what happened. I do believe that this is all a conspiracy and a setup with the police officers. I do believe there's more to this story than she got drunk and hit her boyfriend and reversed into him and he just fell on the lawn and was hit so hard that he flew that far, approximately 10, 12 feet up on the lawn, however, didn't have the injuries that coincided with this supposed situation. So there is so much here that happened in between, though. You have cops, you have evidence being planted, you have investigators lying and possibly planting evidence. It's just, this case, guys, is absolutely wild. The more you look into it, the more you find. Regardless of whether or not I believe there's a conspiracy with the police department, I am going to say that there is not enough evidence when you watch this trial. She is on her second trial currently. I think it's week 2, guys? We just finished up tomorrow we'll be finishing up week 2 of her second trial. The first one ended in a mistrial, and so now here we are with the second. I don't believe that any jury can convict her based on the fact that it's all just reasonable doubt. There's just too much reasonable doubt in this case. Absolutely, Kimberly. Let's start by saying that so let me tell you guys that are on the panel, one of my biggest issues, and I did a video on this today, it's on my page, one of my biggest issues with this entire case is the lack of human reaction. We all have, and yes, people can react to trauma and shock differently. However, it's usually within a pattern, right? And I feel like everyone's reactions to everything in this case show a cover-up. None of it is normal human reaction.
Agreed.
One of my biggest things with this whole case is Karen Reed gets back to her house. She goes to sleep. She's back at John O'Keefe's house. She goes to sleep, right? After she drops John off at the house, supposedly. She goes back to her house. She goes to sleep. She wakes up. John's not home. She gets nervous. Remember, she's still drunk. She was bombed the night before, right? Now, she's sitting there going, well, where the hell is he? He never came home. But she's a little worried now because there's a blizzard outside, and where is he? So she starts calling people. She calls her friends. She calls her friend Jen McCabe, who was with them the night before. And she's like, Jen, I can't find John. She's panicked, worried, screaming. But again, remember, she's still a little drunk. And then she calls her friend Kerry Roberts and says, you know what? I can't find John, guys. What's going on? So she now wants to look for him. So what do? Kerry Roberts goes to John O'Keefe's house and so does Jen McCabe, right? They go to John O'Keefe's house, they pick her up. So here they are. We need to find John. Now, the house that the party was at the night before was Jen McCabe's sister's house. Brian Albert is Jen McCabe's sister-in-law. He is married to Jen McCabe's sister. So what did these ladies do? Well, originally, Karen Reed wanted to go to the bars that she was at the night before to go look at them. And Jen McCabe says, you know what? Let's just go back to 34 Fairview, her sister's house, and let's go look for him there. What I find to be extremely odd is, who the hell is driving in a blizzard? Why would they all get in a car and drive in a blizzard back to the house? When it was Jennifer McCabe's sister, and all she had to do was pick up the phone and call her sister, right? And say, hey, Nicole, is John there? Did John crash there last night? Did he leave? Like, wouldn't every single one of us have just picked up the phone and called our sister and been like, hey, did John leave last night? Like, have you seen John? He never came back last night. Karen's worried. But instead of calling her own sister, these two sober ladies get in the car with Karen Reed, and they drive back to 34 Fairview. They drive back to the house. And that's when Karen Reed and these three ladies find his body on the lawn. But you found his body on the lawn. Okay? What would make them drive there in a blizzard? Like, what do y'all think about that? I just don't, my first reaction is not to get in a car in a blizzard and go look for a man. My first reaction is to call my sister and be like, hey, did John knock out last night? Is he in your basement? Like, what do you guys think about that? Anybody?
Well, it's just odd that, well, there's so many things that's odd, but for starters, it's odd that they would go driving around during a northeastern. That's for starters.
Right.
Okay,
Wouldn't your
that's
first
not.
reaction be to either call your sister?
First of all of the husbands were cops.
Right. Right.
Why would the cops not be the ones to want to make sure that John was okay? Because that's their buddy, right?
That's what I'm saying too.
Right.
They know
So
what to look for.
you know, like, that's odd. I also think that what's also odd is that, and this was in a testimony that we were watching from last night, when the ring light, it was deleted. Yes. Why would you delete it if there was nothing sketchy?
Well, that's another thing in this case that I can't wrap my brain around, is the fact that here you are, you have these cops, right? You have Brian Albert, a police officer, who has a ring camera. Now, everyone thinks he didn't have a ring camera. He did, except he's trying to say that his wrist wasn't on. It just wasn't recording at this time. Well, what cop doesn't turn their ring camera on? Not only did Brian Albert not have his ring camera on, his neighbors, none of them had their ring cameras on. They all had them, but didn't have them on. And there's a lot of cops that live in that area. I think that's just absolutely insane that these people just didn't have their ring cameras on. Your whole cops. Like, what are the odds that that's just when your ring camera's not going to record? When you need it not to? I mean, think about it.
And what I do think is interesting, everybody but Karen Reed had law enforcement affiliation.
Didn't I, baby? I agree. You got to remember that all cops, you had Brian Higgins, who was the ATF agent, who was friends with Brian Albert, who is also a cop. You have, they're all a bunch of cops, a big police family. That right there is the whole thing. Now, the question is, what happened to John O'Keefe if John O'Keefe was not hit by Karen Reed. That's what
First of all, the injuries that he has do not look like injuries from a car.
Let me tell you that, first of all, I'm trying to explain this. What they're saying happened is that she reversed her car. Okay, she got up to 24 miles an hour in reverse, hit him, and he smashed the taillight, right? And then he went flying up on the lawn, approximately 10 to 12 foot. The only injuries this man had was head trauma and some scratches to the internal part of his arm. So if he was hit by the back of a car, even if he spun around, I see what Britt just said, even if he did. Number one, if you're hit, the man was 6 foot tall, 200 pounds. The car, the SUV was a Lexus SUV, had both a spoiler and a bumper, right? So the first thing that's protruding from the car is the spoiler and the bumper, not that taillight is not coming out. Now you can sit there and say that when he was hit, he banged it with his arm. But if you're going to bang a taillight with your arm, right? Where are you banging it with? You're banging it with your elbow or the outside of your arm. But if you look at his injuries, the injuries are to the inside of his arm. And the injuries are scratches. There is no broken tailbone, no broken shoulder, no broken hip, no bruising or broken femurs, nothing you would expect to see by somebody who was just hit by a car supposedly so hard that
Yes,
they flew in the air 10 to 12 feet.
if he was hit by a car and flew, something
Yeah.
would be broke. If not, the whole body
Or
would.
bruised even.
No, I mean, what goes up and hits the ground down, something gonna be broken. Something.
How do you even get the scratches on the inside of the arm? That's wild. That's wild. Now, I want to put this into perspective too. The Alberts, whose house they were at that night, did have a German Shepherd mix named Chloe. They had that dog for 6 years. The dog was known to be aggressive with both
Chloe
people.
the killer.
Yeah, the dog was known to be aggressive with both people and other animals. And if you look at his arm, experts have testified that it looks like paw prints in a dog bite. Now, I'm telling you, I've been a nurse for a very long time. I've been in the medical field for a very long time. You all know that about me. I do not look at these injuries and say for 1 second that they were made because by a taillight and being struck by a vehicle fought hard enough to toss him 10 to 12 foot up on the lawn. There's no way that injury, in my opinion, in my professional opinion, came from that. I don't see that. And then he had multiple fractures to his head.
Those were definitely a dog bite. It was definitely, that's what I feel.
And in the first trial, they did have experts testify that that's exactly what it looked like. It looked like paw prints and a bite mark. And so, the dog was known to be aggressive. Go ahead.
If that is the case, why would the witnesses' story change over and over again? In fact, the very testimony that the grand jury indicted Karen Reed on is the very testimony that they said was an unintentional lie.
That's another thing. Number one, how do you charge somebody with second-degree murder, right? When the cause of death and the manner of death was said.
Yeah, it hasn't even been certified.
Yeah. Okay, the manner of death, they can't even say it was definitely homicide. And the cause of death was head trauma and hypothermia. So how can, with those two things from the medical examiner, how can you sit there and say, well, obvious that she hit him with a car? That's crazy to me. That's absolutely crazy to me. I believe there may have been political. Yeah. The second-degree murder should never have been a charge. I completely agree with that. I don't think the manslaughter should have been a charge. Nor do I think leaving the scene of a crime because, well, if you didn't kill him, you didn't leave anything. There's no proof that she hit him. She did, however, there is proof that that same taillight that was broken, she bumped into his car in their driveway, and that was caught on John O'Keefe's ring camera. That she was backing up to get out of her driveway, and that same taillight, bumped into his car. That was caught on a ring camera. However, the rest of his ring camera was also deleted. So there's a whole big chunk of footage missing from John O'Keefe's ring footage. Again, that's wild. Absolutely wild. And then you have, like Nina just said, then you're sitting there and you have a grand jury indictment based on what somebody just testified they lied about during the grand jury. Like, how do you indict somebody when they're admitting that during the grand jury indictment that they lied? That's wild to me. Can't they subpoena the ring?
No, they're saying, listen, it's missing.
It's
That's
missing.
what they're saying. It's missing.
That chunk is missing. It is missing, yeah. Which means it was deleted, yes. And they did, I believe they did request it from the company, and it's missing. They do not have it. It is not there. It does not exist. So I think that's all absolutely crazy. So now let's get back to the fact that now these ladies, instead of just calling their sister and saying, hey, is John there? They get in this blizzard, right? They get in a car. They get in this blizzard, and they're driving back to the house. They're driving back to Jen McCabe's sister's house, okay? So they get there. Karen Reed spots what she believes to be John O'Keefe in the yard laying there, and she runs frantically to him. The other, Kerry Roberts, gets out of the car and she goes there. And now you have Karen Reed flipping the hell out. She's literally in hysterics, taking her shirt up, pulling his shirt up, trying to lay on top of him, trying to warm him up. She starts CPR on him. She's trying to save him, right? Then you have Jen McCabe, who, does she run to her sister's door to get her brother-in-law, who's a whole cop, a whole first responder, to come out and help their friend who's unconscious on their lawn? No, she doesn't do that. Does she run to that door and grab her sister and say, I need your help? John's dead something's wrong with John on the lawn? No, she doesn't do that either. She doesn't do that. What does she do? She sits there in the car, I believe, in the car, and she calmly calls 911, and she tells 911, there's a man passed out in the snow. Okay, she gets to the point where I think he's unconscious, non-responsive. They started CPR. They're talking. This is where we are. You know what I mean? Like, does she call up and say, hey, my friend, he's a cop? Because I would. Let's be real. I'd be like, yeah, my friend's a cop and he's laying dead, because we know you say that they're a cop, they're going to get there faster, right? Let's all be real. We know that, unfortunately, but it's true. Did she say that my friend, cop John, is laying dead? No.
Not only that, let's just talk about the fact that the 911 operator told them to call them back if anything got worse. Since when does a 911 operator get off the line? And like, they normally wait until the cops get there on the phone with you. Why would the 911 operator get off the phone? Like, why?
Y'all, okay? How many people in this chat have called 911 before? And how many people literally are telling them there's somebody unresponsive, okay? And they say, well, are you doing CPR? Yeah. They don't ask you if you know how to do it correctly. Usually they will talk you do it through it. They want to hear you, you know what I mean, counting. They don't sit there and say, okay, well, the ambulance is on the way. Call me back if you need me. What? Call me back if you need me? I'm in the middle of an effing emergency. We're in the middle of CPR. Someone's laying here practically dead. And you told me to call me back if I need you? How is that a thing? How is that a thing? That's wild to me. That 911 was like, all right, well, just continue CPR. Call me back if you need me. The fact that she was calm when she called 911, the fact that it wasn't, hey, my friend John, he's a Boston cop, he's laying here. None of that happened. It was, there's a man. We're talking about a man who she said was like family. They loved him. There's a man laying passed out in the snow.
Yeah, that's a huge disconnect. And first of all, the fastest way to get a responder to your house is tell them officer down.
Yes. Well, that's what I'm saying. We all know that.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's true. It's just,
It is true.
So I just feel like that's one of those things that's like really, really wild. Now, there is the recording so when they pulled up to the house, when Karen Reed noticed John was laying there on the lawn, Karen Reed was in the process of calling John's cell phone again. Now, when she saw him, she kicked the door open and ran outside to him. She dropped her phone. The phone was in the process of dialing John's phone, so it went through to his voicemail. And John O'Keefe's cell phone, the voicemail picked up what was going on in that car. Now, I don't know if you guys heard this. I do know they have it over on YT. It was a recording of Jen McCabe. Now, it sounds like she's in the car, guys. Nowhere in here you can hear the windshield wipers going. So her version
legitimately hearing the windshield wipers going.
Her
It
version
sounds like she's sitting in the car.
So her version of events was she got out of the car and she went to go help. However, originally she stated that she waited in the car, and now you can hear from her car, from the phone being in the car, it was recorded her, number one, calling 911. So you hear her making the 911 call. You can hear Karen Reed in absolute hysterics, crying, screaming, not knowing what to do. It was obvious that she was like just distraught trying to help him. And you can hear Kerry Roberts like, calm down, like, they were trying to help him over there.
Yeah, she had like a normal reaction.
Yes. You can hear the windshield wipers going the entire time. You don't get a break from the windshield wipers. So not only do you hear the entire 911 call that she made while she was in the car, they also were looking for blankets. You can hear Kerry Roberts trying to look in the car for blankets because they were trying to warm up the frozen body, right? She also called somebody who I believe is Nicole, right? Her sister in the house. And you can hear her talking about, yeah, John's on the front lawn. They found John on the front lawn. And then some more mumbling, which I couldn't make out. So now she notified Nicole. And they're still in that house. So you mean to tell me not only did she not knock on her sister's door to get help from the first responder brother-in-law or the sister, they didn't get blankets, they didn't scream for help, that's what my first reaction would have been, right? Not only did they not do that, this whole police officer and his wife are in their house. They hear Karen Reed screaming. You can hear it on the recording, the 911 call. She was frantically screaming on the front lawn. You can hear the chaos happening on the front lawn. Now you got EMTs and fire and police officers coming. You got sirens wailing. You got people screaming. You got all of this happening, the lights, all of it happening on the front lawn, right? Approximately, what was it, 670 feet to the door? It wasn't very far at all. All of this is going on, and you mean to tell me that first responder, police officer, never came out to check, one, what the chaos was about on his lawn, Number two, who's dead on his lawn? He never came out to check what was going on in his front yard. He is a veteran police officer. You see, even if you had blackout curtains and you didn't see the police sirens, you have the screaming, the wails and sirens. You have all of that commotion and chaos happening. You never went outside to check the entire time. Absolutely find it funny. So, at some point, Jen McCabe testifies and said she did go in the house after they took John away. And she woke up her brother-in-law and her sister, who were still sleeping through all that. And still, they never went outside, didn't talk to Karen, what happened, what's going on, nothing. You know what also didn't happen? The EMTs, the first responders, the police, none of them knocked on this man's door to question him.
No one. Which that is very odd.
Nobody knocked on this man's door and said, "Sir, do you have any idea why there's a dead guy on your lawn?" What? What? He doesn't come out with all this commotion. She doesn't call her sister at all. And now no cop, the whole crime scene is happening in your front lawn. And nobody goes and questions the guy and says, "Do you know why there's a man dead on your front lawn?" The whole cop, they know he's a cop. They all know each other. They're all like, "Oh, Officer so-and-so. What's up, Dave? What's up, dude?" They all know each other. They knew whose house they were at. Nobody knocked on that door to ask anybody why their front lawn was officially a crime scene.
Right. Like,
Make that make sense.
nothing about it makes sense.
It makes no sense. Not only that, look, I get it's Canton, right outside Ivory, all right? Someone just said, Ivory, you said, someone just clocked me and said, "Ivory, you live next to a fire station. When you're on live, I can hear the sirens passing by your house." You're absolutely right. I do live by a fire station, and you can hear them on the live, and that's over 2 blocks. So, I mean, think about that. Like, you mean to tell me you didn't hear that from your front lawn? No, you heard it. You're just guilty as hell, and you didn't go outside because you knew everything you said was going to be used against you. Let's all be real. You know, it is what it is. There's that. So, and then you have, let's get into the investigation. How do you sit there, scoop up blood and snow, and you put it in some Solo cups in a brown paper bag? Like the investigation was botched from the get-go. Like, how are you don't have evidence collecting kits in your cop cars? Y'all, they're right outside Boston. You don't have evidence collecting kits? Like, these people don't have nothing? Well, the blood absolutely is evidence, and they just scooped it up from the snow and laid it in some Solo cups. Absolutely wild to me. You don't use cups, right. The evidence was tampered with from the very, very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
It was from the very beginning. So, yeah, I agree, Natalie. And then you have, so then, all right, I'm trying to see, there's so much, guys. It's really hard to even figure out which direction I want to take this right now. So then you have that, right? Then you have, let's go back to who was in this house during this party, right, before he died. You have Brian Higgins, the ATF agent, who it was found out was having a texting relationship with Karen Reed. "Oh, you're hot," all this nonsense. They were texting each other back and forth, right? You have Brian Albert's there, his wife's there, Colin Albert was there, the whole family's there. All these people are there, right? Now, it is said that there possibly could have been a fight that if John O'Keefe actually made it in that house. All right, Karen Reed drives away. She left him there, and he made it in that house. That there was potentially a fight between one of those people. Now, what would the motive be? Why was there a fight? Now, do I believe this was premeditated? No, not at all. I don't believe any of this that went down was premeditated. I believe it was an accident. I believe it was, men being men, and they're cops and they panicked. I believe, could it have been that John O'Keefe found out about Brian Higgins texting his girl and they got into a fight? It was said that Brian Albert's nephew was there, Colin Albert, who days after had bloody knuckles and like scrapes and bruised knuckles. Pam got kicked out here. I'm coming, Pam. Did we get a okay.
I didn't know what happened.
So it was said that it was a possibility that these men fought and they, ended up hurting him. He cracked his skull and they dragged him outside and left him there, not knowing what else to do. And that's why I believe that instead of calling her sister, checking to see where John is, Jen McCabe needed somebody to go there because she needed somebody to find that body. That's the reasoning why I believe that Jen brought Karen and brought these people there, was because she knew that she needed somebody to find that body to take the heat. So I think there was potentially a fight inside that house. Now, a lot of people are, talking about, so now you have the Alberts are in this house, right? And the dog, right, the dog. Absolutely. And they had the dog, and the dog was outside. So now you have these people, right? And I'm trying to read and do the same thing at the same time. If they called the police or ambulance that night after he got hurt, they would have been held accountable. Well, exactly. And I think that maybe that they had knocked him out. Now, it's said that part of his injuries was not only the fractures in the skull, but he had 2 black eyes. I believe that they knew that they fought. I think that he fell and hit his head during the fight. He cracked his skull. And I believe that they panicked and thought that they killed him. And so they knew that they would get in an awful lot of shit if, these people were sitting there fighting him and they double teamed. I think Colin Albert and Brian Higgins both fought him because let's be real. Look at Brian Higgins. He's not really young. He's kind of a bigger guy, more sluggish. And Colin Albert was young and and I think that, I think they panicked and they dragged him out there. They were like, oh shit, this will fall back on us. Absolutely. That's exactly what I believe. So that's another thing, Meryl. That's where I was going with this. Now you have to think that after this investigation starts, right? Well, what does Brian Albert do? The whole cop that owned the house that never went to check on his dying friend in the front yard? Well, they got rid of their dog. The dog who I believe scratched the arm and bit the arm, and that's where those injuries came from. Yeah, the German Shepherd mix that they had for 6 whole years, they rehomed that dog and got rid of it right after this all went down. Not only did they get rid of Chloe the dog, they re-cemented their basement floor. Okay? Not only did they re-cement their basement floor, because people could be like, well, maybe they just wanted their basement floor re-cemented. All right. You're putting money, though, into that. Cementing a floor costs money, right? You're putting money into it. Well, then they sold the house. They sold the house that has been in their family for a minute. Okay? That's their family house. So not only did they get rid of the dog, re-cemented the basement floor where I believe the fight ensued and happened. Now, did they re-cement the basement floor? Because, well, let's all be real. If you all have basements, you know that cement and concrete, that all stains. It's really hard to get some blood out of some concrete. I'm just saying it. It's porous. It sucks it up. You know what I mean? It's really hard when you're in a panic to get rid of it fully. It's always going to be there. And so I believe that they re-cemented they re-cemented that floor. Now, not only did they put money into that, then they sold the house below market value, guys. They sat there, put money into re-cementing that floor, and then sold the family house below market value. That doesn't seem odd to everybody. You look at each thing individually and you're like, yeah, okay. You look at all of that together and you're like, whoa, whoa, why? What's happening? It does stay. It's a very poor, concrete is very porous. Okay? It's all very porous. So yeah, it's definitely hard to get it out.
Definite cover up.
Yeah.
Definitely.
There's just, it's just so much to this case. There's too much reasonable doubt and too much to back up the fact that this is a cover-up for a family of cops. You know what I mean? Like, I'm just saying. I agree, Meryl. She didn't hit him with that car. And if there's, I would love to hear from anybody in here who believes that she actually did it. Because I'm really curious as to what you all are seeing that I didn't see. You guys know I like people with oppositional opinions. You know I welcome them. There's no, you know what I mean, hate towards it. Everybody should look at this, take their facts, and come up with their own opinions. But I'm not, Rosamel, I'm not sure. Lisa, you don't think she did it? You want to come up here, Lisa? Because I'm curious to see. Did you say you think she did it or you don't think she did it? You don't think she did it. Okay, yeah. I don't think she did it either. Is there anyone in here that thinks she did it? Thank you, Christina, for the follow. You don't think she did it. Okay. So I'm really curious how anybody can look at this and say, oh, well, yeah, she did it. Like, even if you don't believe in the police, the fight and the cover up with the police, right? And you think that, yeah, he was hit by a car. Well, you still can't prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it was her that hit him. And not just somebody, it was the middle of a blizzard. She could have left him on a curb drunk. Anybody could have been driving down that block and hit him. It doesn't necessarily mean if he were hit that it was her. You know what I mean? So it's like, how can you sit there and charge this woman with second-degree murder? It's beyond me. Absolutely. Thank you, Onward. Thank you, guys. Thank you for the heart me's. I really appreciate them. And guys, if you could tap the hell out of my face so we can get pushed out there on the FYP, I appreciate it. Also, guys, if you're new to my live, don't forget to give me a follow. And please follow everybody up on the panel. I appreciate it. Yes, HL, I have been watching the trial. I have been. I did not watch the first trial. I have been going back just to compare the two. But yes, I've been watching the trial. I've done a lot so far. I've done a lot of work looking into this. All of us have. We've been looking into this case, you know what I mean? Like really thoroughly. It's so hard because the more you look into it and you think you found something, there's like 50. The one hole turns into 50 other holes and you're like, wow, it's crazy.
Nicole in the chat, she said, I don't even like her, Karen Reed, and she's 100% innocent. And I agree. I'm not a fan of her, but she's innocent, in my opinion.
Yes, you were like me, Canceled. I was the same way. I did not like her, and I kind of went into this. You know, I always try to look at everything unbiased. You know what I mean? Like, before I make an opinion, I really like to look at things without, like, having anything else into it. But I just didn't like her. There was something about her personality that she turns me off. And so it's almost like I wanted her to be guilty. You know what I mean? But I was still trying to keep an open mind, and I was like, as much as I don't like her and her personality and how cocky she is and all of that, as much as I want the girl to be guilty, she didn't do it, guys. I don't see it. There is nothing but reasonable doubt plastered all over this. All over. It's wild. Thank you. Thank you. It's crazy. I'll stand up for her, but I wouldn't want to be friends with her. Exactly, Lumi. That's what I'm talking about. Like, hell yeah. Like, she sucks as a person. I think she's got a horrible attitude. You're a little cocky for someone who's facing life in prison. However, I think she's cocky because she knows she didn't do it. You know what I mean? And then you also got to look at her background. She's, You know what I mean? She's an adjunct professor. She's, an executive. She's very well spoken. She's very confident in knowing that she didn't do it. I mean, I really believe that that's where her cockiness comes from. She's just a very confident person. Hey, Angel. So yeah, I just don't. It's just wild to me that anybody who looks at this case, whether you just can't see that it's nothing but reasonable doubt all over the place. All over the place. It's just insane. There's more and more. So, guys, we didn't even get onto the trial yet. For those of you who have been watching the trial, okay, what? How can I say this without? Well, I'm going to do it in good old Ivy Rose Nose fashion. It's a fucking shit show, guys. It is a shit show, all right? First of all, I have never seen a judge call so many. Oh, thank you, Diane. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the gifts, guys. I appreciate you liking the live. I really do appreciate it. But I can't understand how a freaking judge. I've watched cases, guys. I've watched trials, so many of them. Okay, and I don't understand how a judge can call so many sidebars. Nina, you're the one with more knowledge about the law. Please tell me how a judge can call so many sidebars.
Judge can call sidebars. The issue is the level of sidebars that she's calling. It's not common for a judge to do that. That's not a standard. That's not standard. So just that in and of itself is concerning, because the first question you really would ask is, well, why is she so invested in the outcome? Is it, there's something behind this as to why the judge would be so invested? Because it doesn't really make much sense for the judge to have such an investment into something that really, what does it have to do with her other than her making a decision? So that leads you to believe there's there's some ties to something, because it doesn't add up. It just, the sidebars are just odd. Like, for a judge herself to call so many sides, especially when the witnesses are answering, the judge is calling sidebars as if the judge is kind of like, I kind of have a problem with this.
All the
Why?
time with everything.
Miss Mams, why do you have a problem?
That's, you're right. I've seen judges call sidebars. But like you said, it's uncommon to call so many. Now, if you guys remember the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case, we all remember that crap, right? I thought that was a lot of sidebars and a lot of all right, you know what I mean? But this, you're sitting there, you got an 8-hour day, and 7.5 of them are taking place up at the judge's desk. Like, come on. Like, it's absolutely wild that they can't even get through questioning, because it's constantly, can I see the lawyers up here? Can I see the attorneys up here? Come on, dude. It's wild. And objection, sustained. If I hear this chick say sustained one more time, sustained, sustained, sustained. Now, let's talk about the judge, Auntie Bev. The defense asked her to recuse herself. They're saying that somehow she is connected or knows the family. Someone, I think it was Annie, just said in the chat that, isn't she the godmother of Colin? I don't know that she's the godmother of Colin, to be honest with you. That I have not seen yet, and I'll let you know if I do. However, I have not seen that yet. I do know that at some point, I think it was it Julie or one of them they were trying to rent some properties from her, and there was the Venmo receipts for using her Cape House, right? And there was the text message that was like Auntie Bev or whatever. And then you also have to understand that Colin Albert's father, Chris Albert, was represented by Judge Bev's brother in a hit and run homicide. where he served 6 months, okay? So they also know each other, the families like that. So Colin Albert's father was represented by Judge Bev's brother, who's an attorney. So yes, Judge Bev's brother is the attorney for that family, for the Alberts. Yes, that is correct. So now they did ask her to recuse herself. Now, and again, Nina, you could speak on this after I say this because you know a little bit more about me. But when you ask a judge to recuse yourself on the basis that I think that you have a relationship with this family and you don't actually know the family, then you should be able to sit there right there and be like, no, I'm not going to recuse myself because I don't know these people. However, I find it funny that the judge took a 16-minute timeout in chambers to think about it, to then come back and say, I'm not going to recuse myself. There is no relationship here. However, what did you have to think about for 16 minutes? Who did you call is what I want to know. Why did you have to think
Well,
about whether you knew them?
she obviously had some investment into it. But the thing that's crazy about her, they didn't ask her to recuse herself once, but twice, right? And she does have some affiliation, which that's the whole basis of why she needs to recuse herself. But then again, when you look at this, just on the basis that they admitted their very own witnesses, and more than one said it was an unintentional lie, that we gave a testimony that got this very indictment, the whole case needs to be thrown out just on that, period, dot, the end. The basis, the foundation is null and void.
He got indicted based on their lies. And then they're admitting in the trial that they lied during the grand jury, which gave the indictment originally.
So in other words, they would not have been able to get that indictment on the fact of what they have. And furthermore, the fact that death was not ruled a homicide.
No, it was undetermined.
So you're charging someone with murder in which, on paper, legally, it wasn't ruled a murder.
Yep, they're not even sure if he was murdered. Right.
So how do you charge somebody with a murder when on paper, legally, just on paper, based on what the cause of death was and what it was ruled as, it wasn't ruled as a murder, but you're charging someone with a murder? That's like giving me a hamburger and telling me it's a hot dog.
Yep. And then not even that, but again, look at the wounds. Look at his injuries. It doesn't shout to me struck by a car. Head trauma, multiple head fractures, some scratches on the inside of the arm, but come on. How do you figure that sounds like he got hit by a car?
No, I mean, everything about it doesn't. Nothing about this adds up. And that's really ultimately the real issue, is nothing about it actually adds up.
Right. Then they're saying that she reversed and hit him, right? She reversed the car and she hit him in reverse. Now, her car did register going in reverse 24 miles an hour, right? 24 miles an hour, which means anybody who's driven a car like we all had, you're going in reverse. It takes a second to get to 24 miles an hour, right? Like you're not going, it's a Lexus SUV, but you're not going from 0 to 24.
Oh yeah, because the car would register, and it would have to go fast in order for him to be flying, right? Like, but then again, if someone flew, there would be broken bones, multiple broken bones, not one, multiple. There's no, I mean, it's the law of gravity.
Well, first, yeah, listen.
And his weight.
So I'm gonna try. Actually, you guys are gonna get some Ivory Rose nose art today. I can't draw,
And you
but
can't
I
tell me,
want.
oh, well, the snow was a cushion.
No.
And then the fact that they said that they pulled an ice cube out of his nose. How the hell do you pull an ice cube out of someone's nose? Like, you, even if the body has been dead, how do you pull a ice cube out of someone's nose? Make it make sense.
Harry Roberts' testimony really bugged Nina out because she's like, "What do you mean you pulled an ice cube out of his eye?"
Yeah, it doesn't. Not only that, even the test, none of the witnesses have been good. And when I say good, not good, that is an understatement. Okay. Like, each and every one of them can't answer yes or no to anything. In fact, they come up with a whole long story to everything, which anyone that has sat in any trial, ever testified, ever been a witness, anything like that, the best answers are yes and no, especially if you're a liar.
Yes. Yep.
If you're lying and you're not saying yes and no when you're speaking so much, the explaining, then you can't remember what you said. And that is the very thing that's happening to these people.
Yes. Or yes. You know what? We'll get into that in 1 second because I'm going to jump off of what you just said and go back to the testimony we listened to yesterday. Before I do that, I'm going to draw you guys a picture, okay? You're going to get some, like, true real-time Ivory Rose nose art. I am not an artist, guys. This is my picture, okay? Can y'all see that? Wait, hold on. I got to take this back. All right. We got some Ivory Rose nose art. See? Look at that. You see? This is the Albert's house. The windows, the door. This is the flagpole where they found John, right? He was found, dead body right there, right? This is the road right here. Now, what they're saying is that if he's found here, her car was facing this direction. All right? Her car was going this way, right? They said that she was parked up here the last time Jen McCabe saw her out the door, which means she had to reverse and she had to hit him. However, okay, it takes a minute to get into reverse to get to 24 miles an hour in reverse, which means you got to get that car. Is not just going to, it's not no race car. It's not no NASCAR here we're dealing with, right? You got to hit that gas in reverse, and it's going to take a hot second to get to 24 miles an hour, right? Which means it's going to have to go quite a few feet to get to that speed, right? Which means if she reversed, how do you hit him here and then he flies back this way? You're going to fly in the direction in which you're hit, in which the force is going. I'm not going to sit there and throw a ball that way and it's going to come this way, okay? So she had to reverse because they said she was in front of the flagpole, right here in front of the flagpole. So she had to reverse far enough to get to 24 miles an hour to hit him hard enough to even knock him down, right? Which means that's more than just a couple of feet. Plus there was snow on the ground, right?
Right.
And so it is. It's just mirrored, guys, because, like, it's just mirrored because I'm showing you this. But so there's no way that she reversed that car, that she hit him, and instead of going this way, okay, look, here's the little car, here's the wheels, right? She hit him here with this back tail light, and instead of going this way, he went back that way. No, make that make sense.
Yeah, it doesn't. And there's no way you could say that it makes sense. There's absolutely no way.
And then if someone is about to say to me, well, she hit him, and I've seen people go flying, but in order to hit him with enough force that man literally went flipping in the air, he would have more damage to where he was hit. than just some scratches on the inside of his arm and a cracked skull and some black eyes. I mean, where did you hit him? His arm, his leg, his thigh, his hip? Like, someone make that make sense. I mean, for real. I mean, what are we talking about? Swan Lake out there in the middle of Fairview Road in Canton, Massachusetts? Come on, dude. Like someone just say he was pirouetting all around. Like, there's no way that man was hit. With that, there wasn't enough space in the area between the flagpole and, like, for him to fly that far back. There's no way. There's just no way. You hit something, usually it's going to go in the direction in which it was hit. If you hit it at the right angle, maybe he goes flying. However, there's no broken collarbone, no broken shoulder, no broken hip, no broken femur, no broken back, nothing else but a cracked skull, 2 black eyes, and some scratches on the inside of his arm that look like dog bites and dog scratches. This cat does this one more time, I'm about to feed him to his friend Chloe. You want to go where Chloe is? Because they can't find Chloe the dog. Anyway, you know Moon needs to be in the camera, y'all. And then he landed, and that's another thing, Chaos. You're absolutely right. Moon needs to get in here. Then, not only did he magically fly through the air with all this force at 24 miles an hour, right? No injuries. He flew back by the flagpole and landed anatomically correct. He landed flat on his back, head up, with his arms down by his side, and his legs straight out. He wasn't laying all discombobulated like someone who would have just no. Anatomically correct, just laying there flat. Perfect landing. He got a 10. He got a 9.9 for that. You defied it all. Absolutely. You got perfect 10. He landed absolutely perfectly after all of that, getting hit by a car, getting smashed into the taillight, like all of it, dismounted right off that car with a perfect landing up by the flagpole. I mean, Nadia Comaneci couldn't do dismounts like this shit. Come on. Like, for real. Make it make sense. You can't make that make sense. Somebody, anybody who wants to argue and tell me that makes sense, please come up and explain it, because anybody with any common sense, just you can't. That's what Olympic moves. Let me tell you, that's what I'm saying. Move over, people. Here he comes. That was just perfect landing. Like the Olympics hasn't seen a landing like that. Come on, dude. Perfect. What are the odds? What are the odds? This cat is getting on my last nerve, y'all. You love my passion. You know I'm passionate about everything I talk about. And that's why it's like, you know what I mean? Because I really believe that there is an injustice here. If you have an entire police force covering up, and I don't believe they purposely did it. I think it was accidental. But here they are covering up something that they did accidentally. Meanwhile, they hold people responsible for these crimes all of the time, but feel like they're above it. That's not fair. That woman could potentially spend the rest of her life in prison because y'all messed up and couldn't take accountability for what you did. So, listen, Moo is driving me. He's another one who's about to have a perfect landing with a dismount. Dude, what are you doing? It's you guys. He wants to be in the camera. He thinks he's the show. So, yeah. Moo, get back up on your spot. About to feed him. We need to find Chloe. That's what I'm saying. You're going with Chloe. If you don't, I'll put you I'll re-cement our floors. Go. But yeah, I think that the chances of that, guys, happening are just astronomical. You have a better chance of hitting the lottery than for all of that happening for this to be the result. Okay? I do believe that either that dog was in the house and attacked him during the fight, because my dogs, if they see fighting, my dogs are going to attack. My dogs are going to charge. Or they had the dog out in the yard, they left him there, and that dog got to him while he was down already. Moo! And I believe that they set Karen up because she was drunk. She was an easy target to take the fall. And she was not a cop. And her only affiliation to the cops were John. So, yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's just completely, and they've been fighting, but I mean, they're fighting. That's another thing. Let's talk about the voicemail she was leaving him. She was bombed. Okay. They were fighting. She left him at that house. She goes home to his house with his niece and nephew who were there, who said she was there, right? And she's calling him. Now, we've all been there. We've all been drunk and pissed off at our significant other. And we all pulled that phone out and was like, you're fuckface. Like, I'm pissed off, like whatever. We've all been there, right? Not our finest moments. However, we're all human. Now, leaving somebody a pissed off text message or a pissed off voicemail while I'm drunk in the middle of the night does not make me a murderer, okay? Now she's sitting there and you're cheating on me. Where are you, John? I fucking hate you. You're a piece of shit. Like doing all of the things our drunk girlfriend selves have done at one point or another, okay? And she did them. And they were very horrible voicemails. However, she did not kill that man and then go ahead and just left these voicemails on his phone as a cover up because they were damning. You know what I mean? Like, oh, she left these voicemails. Nah, it doesn't really make very much sense that she left them to cover up a murder. I really believe that she was really pissed off that they make her look bad. But here she is. You know what I mean? Like, I really don't believe listen, I hear whoever just said I get mouthy. I'm with you. It made her an easy target because they knew that they were having problems in their relationship. And they all did. They all admitted that they knew that they were having problems in their relationship. So you're absolutely right. Oh, Mommy, let's not even get into the fact of the destroyed cell phones, okay? If you did nothing wrong, okay, and you are not guilty of anything, right? Tell me why Brian Higgins, the day before formal notice went out for them not to destroy their cell phones. Not only did they all destroy their cell phones, like Brian Higgins and Brian Albert, right? Brian Higgins, the ATF agent, destroyed his SIM card, destroyed his phone, and ditched it on a military base.
That's the part. And he was the one inappropriately texting with Karen.
Yes. Brian Higgins was the one who was having inappropriate text messages with Karen. Okay? How? Why? Who does that? I got 6 military bases around me. I'm on a military base probably 5 times a week. I've never destroyed my phone and decided to chuck it on the military base. Why? Why did you need to get rid of that phone so bad that there you are in a military base and that's when you decided to just get rid of it after you destroyed the SIM card one day before a formal notice went out that you should not destroy the evidence? Okay? Someone make that make sense. Not only that, but they keep, I know this is one of the biggest things in the case, y'all, and I've seen it so many times, but what about the house long to die in the cold Google search that happened? All right. Now, supposedly, they're saying that when they found John O'Keefe's body at 6 o'clock in the morning, that Karen Reed asked Jen McCabe to Google how long it takes a body to die of hypothermia or how long it takes a body to die in the cold. And she stated, and it shows in her phone, that at 6:30 she Googled twice, how long does it take to die in the snow, or whatever the exact wording was. However, when they looked through her phone and they actually took her phone 2:30 in the morning, which is 2 hours after Karen Reed left John O'Keefe there, when Karen Reed was actually proven to be at home at John's house, a Google search was conducted on Jen McCabe's phone, house, HOS, long to die in the snow. And she's saying that she never did that. It was deleted. And she's saying that she never made that Google search. However, she did make the Google search at 2:37 a.m., 4 hours before anybody found his body and 2 hours after Karen Reed would have hit him with the car. So somebody make that make sense. How is that Google search there at 2:37 a.m.? And then she lied to the FBI. Y'all, there's so much. There's so much. Karen made her search hypothermia. Exactly. And then you have Kerry Roberts on the stand just a couple of days ago, all right, talking about, they asked her why in the first trial did you say that you heard Karen Reed ask Jen McCabe to Google that, and now she's saying that she didn't hear Karen Reed ask Jen McCabe, that it was a mistake. She unintentionally lied because Alan Jackson, which, let me tell you something, if I ever need a lawyer, that's who I want on my side. Alan Jackson, the defense attorney, was like, well, you said in the last trial you testified that you heard Karen Reed ask Jen McCabe to Google that. And now she's taking that back, and now she's stating that she didn't hear them. She just knows that it happened. Also, however, you can't just know that it happened if you never spoke on it. She's testifying that they never spoke about it. However, if you didn't hear it, then you couldn't know it happened because you never spoke on it. So right there, she was just caught in a whole bunch of perjury. And how this judge just lets this go down, how these judges let these people perjure themselves online is beyond me. I feel like that's a disrespect to the court. If I were a judge and you lied in my courtroom, I'm taking that as a personal disrespect. You think you're going to get away with lying under oath in my courtroom? Y'all, I could never be a judge. Let me just put that out there. Okay? Everybody be in contempt all the time. You're all going to jail because I wouldn't tolerate that. I'd be a beast. Like, y'all, people would hate me. Yes, the judge is in on it also. The judge is absolutely, in my opinion, in on it. And y'all think this is so far-fetched? But I can assure you it's not. It happens often. It happens in cities like Boston, like Los Angeles, like New York. These big departments. It happens. It happens more often than people know. People perjure themselves. They lie. People, you know what I mean? They cover up and they blame people for things that didn't happen. Absolutely, especially with cop families. Let's be real. They back the blue. They back their brothers. That is a strong bond that these people hold together. And it is what it is. It happens, unfortunately, all the time. As you know, we don't want to admit it, but it happens. Corruption is absolutely a thing. From the West Coast to the East Coast, from the North to the everywhere. Corruption's a thing, unfortunately, in this country. So, can we block Angela? Yeah. If you guys need to block Angela, y'all know what to do. Was Angela someone who... Gemma, we are talking about the Karen Reed case. So, I know it sounds just so far-fetched. It sounds like some kind of movie, right? It sounds like a drama movie. However, how do you look at this case and be like, oh, she hit him? Like, if there's anybody in my chat, all right, we got 200 people in here. None of you believe that she's guilty? Because I really want to hear from somebody who believes that she did it. And I want to pick your brain and I want to see how you see it. Because I tried to be extremely unbiased in all of this. I looked at this from a clear perspective and I don't freaking see it, y'all.
Ivory, we have Christy Bateman in the chat that keeps saying she's guilty.
Ooh, Christy, did you want to come up, Christy? Christy won't up yet.
Love to hear this one.
Christy didn't request. Christy, if you'd like to come up, I'd love to hear from you. The only thing I ask for my chat is that you'll be be respectful. I don't mind oppositional opinions.
Oh, she said Angela said she's guilty.
Oh, does anybody in here think that she's guilty? I love a good debate. I love a good, you can't sit there and people, I too went and watched those people or watched the information. You have to get your 50-50. EM, did you want to come up and tell me why you're 50-50? You can't decide after watching the trial. Hold on. The trial, the cell phone locations. So what about the cell phone locations makes you... My whole thing is everyone keeps saying the cell phone wasn't in the house. Now, however, that's not what that said. It said the cell phone could have absolutely gone in the house. There was definitely enough foot. However, let me ask you this. What if his cell phone never went in that house with him? And I'm going to say this to you. He was drunk as well, guys. He was drunk. Okay? He got into a fight with her. Okay? Did he drop it in the snow on his way in that house? Now let's talk about the butt dials. The epidemic of butt dials that happened in this case, right? Everybody seemed to be massively butt dialing everybody. Like, we're in the middle of a whole crime and y'all just, your phones all take on a mind of their own and start butt dialing people at random for no reason. Wild. Wild. Again, that's another one of those things, okay? Jen McCabe butt dialed John O'Keefe's phone, or pocket dialed, or whatever. Like, your ass cheeks, like, took on a mind of their own and started using your phone. However you want to put it, okay? Jen McCabe butt dialed, pocket dialed, whatever, didn't really dial, however you want to put it, John O'Keefe's phone approximately, and I don't quote me on this number, I'm going by memory right now, I think it was between 15 and 17 times. Okay? All of them were butt dials. Anybody who's butt dialed somebody for real, knows that you butt dial them, it goes to their voicemail, they get 3 minutes of you talking nonsense out in the background, and then the thing disconnects, right? But that didn't happen with her butt dials. Her butt dials never went to voicemail. So that means, in my opinion, that she had to have ended the call because there were no voicemails, right? It never went to his voicemail if they were butt dials. Now, maybe she had a magic phone. Maybe it was some, like, I don't know, Boston sorcery. I don't know, whatever. They did these butt dials, right? Could he have dropped that phone out in the snow before he went in that house? Which, one, shows why the battery was so cold, right? We all saw that testimony. And he got in there. He got into a fight. They drag him outside, and now they can't find his phone. So the butt dials happened because Jen McCabe needs to locate John O'Keefe's phone. However, his phone was off, okay? But I think, personally, that Jen McCabe was calling or butt dialing 15 times because they were trying to find his phone, because they couldn't have his phone in the house and have him dead on the lawn and say that he never came into the house if his phone is in the house. So I think they panicked and were like, we have to find the phone, until somebody went back outside and said his phone is out here. He must have dropped it. That seems like a really good, plausible explanation. Or maybe he did go in the house. It does not say that he didn't go into the house. It doesn't say he definitely did not have that phone in the house. Now, it said he ascended, descended stairs, that whole thing. Could he have gone in that house with the phone? Yeah. Could he have lost it in the house, in the basement? He didn't get very far before they kicked his ass, and then she was panicking looking for the phone? Yeah, possibly. I personally think he dropped the phone outside, and that's why they were panicking and couldn't find the phone, because it wasn't in the house. That is just my opinion, and this is why I think this. And again, those 17 or 15 butt dials that were made were panic looking for his phone because we can't keep the evidence in the house. My opinion, again, I don't believe the phone was ever in the house. I think he was drunk. He was holding the glass. Remember, he came from the bar, and he was still holding the beer mug or the beer glass from the bar, which, okay, I think he dropped his phone. He's drunk. There's a couple of inches of snow on the ground. I'm not looking for it, whatever. You know, she's just going to call me. I'm going to fight with her. This chick is going to call me a million times, whatever. I'm just going to go in the house, let me grab a beer. Right? I'm just saying. He was lying under the phone because the temperature of the battery would drain. I don't see that. However, do I think that when they finally found the phone in the panic that they had, that they threw it underneath him? Yeah. So to make sure that somebody found it? Yeah, absolutely. So make sure that nobody knocked on that door to see where his cell phone was? Oh, hell yeah. I think they purposely put it flat underneath his body. Because again, that perfect 10 landing, and that phone just perfectly landed right underneath his body. Absolutely wild. Absolutely wild. So that's what I think happened with the phone. That's what I think the butt dials came from. Then you have the lying that, the butt dialing from Brian Higgins and Brian Albert. Apparently, Brian Higgins, the ATF agent, had butt dialed Brian Albert. Brian Albert, then called him back or butt dialed him back. And this one didn't answer because now you got to remember, not only was Jen McCabe butt dialing John O'Keefe, but you had that butt dialing happening after the friend's dead on the lawn. You got butt dialing happening between Brian Albert and Brian Higgins. So, you know what I mean? Like, the amount of butt dialing just blows my mind. I can't recall. It was a butt dial. I didn't make that call. I can't recall. That it must have been a butt dial. Like, these asses were working overtime this night. Literally, the asses were working overtime. The phones were going crazy. Just, what are the odds of all of this happening during the death of someone, the murder of someone? Just, none of it makes sense. There's no way he landed with his phone underneath him like that, Christy. There's no way he landed. The odds of him landing perfectly anatomically correct. Like, he's just laying there. I'm sorry, what'd you say?
And another thing that's really worth noting is how they continuously kept saying it was dark, but there was all that snow out there. Like, when it's snowing, it might be dark, but the light reflects off of the snow, so it's never really dark.
Nina, yes, let me tell you something. I'm from New Jersey, New York area. My husband is from Maine. I have spent the winters in Maine, where it snows like crazy, blizzards all the time, okay? Everybody who's ever been in a snowstorm, in a blizzard, or seen snow, and you're living in an area where it snows, you all know that glistening that everybody talks about in the snow, even in a blizzard, it reflects the light, okay? It reflects the light. That's why it always looks so bright in the snow. It reflects all of the reflection from the light. Y'all, put a 1 in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. It doesn't ever look pitch black in the snow. It actually looks bright out. From the moon, from the clouds, it's all reflecting. It actually looks bright at night in the snow. Now, not only does the snow reflect and take in all that light and reflect so it's not dark, Rhode Island, there you go. Guys, you all know what I'm talking about. Jersey girl, there we go. New York. You all know what we're talking about when we say that. It looks bright. It is never pitch black. And not only that, what made it even more bright and there was a street light right across the street in front of their house. So that gave it even more reflection to bounce off the snow. And you guys, even when that snow blizzard is coming down as fast as it comes down, the light will actually reflect off the snow flakes that are falling. Okay, you all know, if you've been in a blizzard and you live around it, you all know what I'm talking about when I say that. It's not, oh, it was so dark I didn't see the body laying 20 feet on the front lawn by the flagpole. No, y'all, it's bright as hell in the snow, even in a blizzard. So there's no way, okay, there's no way nobody came in and out of that party all night long and nobody saw that body laying dead by that flagpole. There's no way. It doesn't make any sense. These people came in and out all night long. People came to the party. People left while that man was laying there dead by that flagpole. It wasn't a blizzard condition when he first got there. It got harder throughout the night. You mean to tell me there's a dead body on the lawn and none of y'all saw it? And it wasn't like it was acres of land. It wasn't acres of land. It was actually not that far from the front door or from the driveway to the flagpole where he was. So it's not like he laid there and 8 inches of snow, 12 inches of snow dropped in an hour. No, he wasn't covered that quickly. Because again, it wasn't blizzard conditions at first. It gained up to blizzard conditions. So he was laying there with He was laying there where you can see him. People were coming and going, and nobody saw that man dead there. 6 foot, 200 pounds, laying by a flagpole in the snow.
Right.
It was dark, but it wasn't. There was a light out in front, and snow reflects all light. It actually looks bright in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I mean? Like, this is the stuff that they're arguing that makes no sense to me. How can your argument be nobody saw that body there? They came, they left. Colin Albert came, he left. The Nagel came, she left. Like, all of this stuff. And nobody saw that body laying there in the snow.
But everybody's story changing.
Yes, everybody's story changing. I don't understand why, like, anybody who thinks that she's guilty, somebody tell me your answers for any of this. Because even if she did hit him, then still tell me why nobody saw his body laying there. And you mean to tell me that Jen McCabe said she was staring out that window and she saw that car there. She said it moved 4 times in positions on the road, but she saw it there. You knew they were out there. You saw it. People were coming, going. Nobody heard screeches. Nobody heard screaming. Nobody heard the car make any noise. Slamming of a door. Breaking of the cup that he had. The glass that he had from the bar. That broke. Nobody heard any noise outside. None. But yet, you knew to get up and look at the car there. So you had to have heard a car pull up initially, because what made you go to the front door to look outside when they pulled up? Right? So you can hear a car pull up, but you didn't hear anybody screaming. And then the guy didn't die instantaneously, I'm telling you that. Okay? So you didn't hear him out there dying? Like, let's be for real. Let's be for real. It doesn't make any sense. It does, and the amount of stories that change. Everyone's testimony. No, I didn't tell the truth during the grand jury. I didn't tell the truth in the first trial. I didn't intentionally lie, but I lied. You know, I didn't know I said that. No, that's not what I said. No, this is the transcript. This is what you said, word for word. No, I didn't. That's not what I said. No, this is written down. This is court testimony. No, that's not what I said. Trust me. I said this. My memory is better now. Listen, Jen McCabe talking about my memory is better now 3 years later than it was 6 months when I was questioned, or 6 weeks when I was questioned by the investigator. Someone make that make sense. My memory of that night is better now 3 years later than when they questioned me initially, because she lied, and when she never told Michael Proctor that Karen Reed said I hit him, because she said, could I have hit him? And now all of a sudden her testimony is I hit him. But that's not what she said to the investigator when he first questioned. And she's on a stand the other day talking about, no, she said I hit him. No, that's not what I told the investigator. I remember today better than I did back then when it happened. What? Everybody knows that your memory changes over time. You can actually remember things that didn't happen because your memories change over time. You can start believing things happened when they really didn't. Everyone knows that everyone's memory is best right after it. Okay? Not 3 years later. But except for Jen McCabe. Because again, it's some magic sorcery surrounds this woman. Her memory is better 3 years later. And that's what she testified to the other day. My memory is better today than it was 3 years ago. I made a mistake back then. No, today's the truth. Are we for real? Today's the truth. I didn't remember back then. I remember today. Y'all make it make sense. And I am really curious to hear somebody else's perspective. I really want to hear how somebody can say that she's guilty. I haven't found anyone yet, but I am really, really curious to hear what people are seeing that shows her guilt that I'm not seeing. Because even if you think that, yeah, all right, we're going to say the injuries all add up into a car accident, right? We're going to say that just for shits and giggles. Well, then what makes anybody believe that it was Karen that hit him? It was a snowstorm. She could have dropped them off, and any random guy driving slippery during a snowstorm could have hit her. Could have hit him. It doesn't necessarily mean it was her. It could have been anybody then, right? It was snowing out. It was blizzard conditions. Anybody could have slid in the snow and hit him when he was on the curb after she left. So you can't, without a doubt, say that it was her who hit him. There's no proof of it. There is no proof she hit him at all. None. Zero.
Didn't a FBI crash investigator come up for the defense and state that? And the other crash investigator for the prosecution didn't even go to like school for that. He was basically trained on the job.
Yes, canceled. You're absolutely right. So canceled, right. The prosecution brought up an expert who wasn't even educated, and I wouldn't even consider him to be an expert, in my opinion. And then, well, it was it was ARCA that they brought up, the defense, right? Canceled.
Yes,
And they went and they what? They redid the crash,
they did the
right?
crash, and they said that there was no way he was hit.
And
Basically,
then
with that type of damage and his injuries, that's
Yes.
not conclusive to
Yes.
being hit.
let me ask you this: what was up with the judge in the ARCA testimony? What was it that they wanted to dismiss ARCA's testimony after that testimony? Why was the judge willing to dismiss it? What was the argument with that? Does anybody remember that?
I can't remember.
I believe they were saying there was some kind of misconduct with the recreation of the crash.
Yeah, I think
I
so.
just don't know what the exact misconduct was. I will have to go and look into that because, again, I am just surface level here, guys. I am just getting into this, and it's a lot. It's a lot to uncover. It's a lot to go through. It's just so much. Because they claim the defense paid them. Wait, aren't all experts are paid? Nina, am I right in saying that experts can be paid? Y'all, anybody? I'm right in saying that, right?
Yes, yes, experts, they're often paid.
Yeah, I'm not understanding why they're saying it was
Be
misconduct.
de- yeah, they can be paid by, of course, the defense or the prosecution, depending on who's pulling them in. But yeah, they're
Yeah,
paid.
they are. I just asked my husband, and he said sometimes they are, yes, by
Yeah,
defense attorneys and stuff to go to
the
court.
FBI was paying ARCA first. The defense didn't. They had to pay them. So ARCA was pulled in by the FBI, and then they're trying to say that they were paid off under the table by the defense. Is that what we're saying? Was the misconduct or supposed misconduct? Because I haven't even gotten there yet. I haven't looked into the whole. And then the defense contacted them behind the scenes. Well, I mean, but then the judge had no choice but to let ARCA back in, right? They were trying to say they were paid by defense after FBI brought them in. Okay. Auntie Bev is tied in with those cops. They all know each other, so she should not be overseeing this. I agree, Misty Lee. She was asked to recuse herself, and she should have recused herself. I absolutely believe it. She had to go to chambers for what, 16 minutes and really think about it? What do you have to think about? Either you know them or you don't. That's not worth 16 minutes of thinking. You either have a relationship with them or you don't.
That's another red flag in this whole
Yes.
trial too, is the judge and the relationship the judge has with the, you know, with everything. It's a big rabbit hole, and it all points to me, a cover up and blaming Karen Reed for everything.
Yeah. I'm telling you. And that's another thing. Let's talk about the hung jury or the mistrial, right? Whatever we want to call it. Someone tell me how in the last trial the jury stated that they were unanimous on the fact that she was innocent of second-degree murder and she was innocent of leaving the scene of a crime. However, they were hung on the manslaughter charge. How is it not double jeopardy? How do they try her again for those 2 crimes after the jury already voted unanimously that she was innocent of
Yeah,
those?
but those 2 charges in particular should have never been brought back into court.
And I know they put in a motion with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court denied it to drop those 2 charges because of double jeopardy. But I don't see how you don't consider that double jeopardy. They voted unanimously that she was innocent of both.
Right.
And doesn't the judge usually ask them, was it all the charges that you were hung on?
Yes.
She didn't ask them that. She never asked that jury if it was all of the charges or it was just one.
Because
She
she
never asked
knew.
them.
Yes.
Because they never completed the form. But isn't it true that in the first trial, the form didn't have a not guilty option, right? I think there was a problem with the form in the first trial. It didn't have a not guilty option. The judge did not pull the jury after. How is that right? How was she found innocent unanimously by a jury on 2 charges and they retry her for the same charges that she was found innocent on? It's about the form. The form never had the not guilty option. So how is that? How do we make that make sense? That woman was already found innocent of 2 of the charges.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? And of course the Supreme Court's not going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm going to overturn that because, well,
No, I
they
mean,
don't want to get
it's
involved in that.
very exactly. Exactly.
There was no option to check off not guilty. Exactly, Kelly. Make that make sense.
So they were basically saying, you gonna find her guilty of something.
Yes. It was almost like a forcing hand. Like, well, these are my options, says the courts. So I got to pick. Not even that, but someone tell me this. We know the Turtle Boy thing. We know that other chick that was supposedly paid $1,500 from the prosecution to put out all over social media and do all that stuff, right? Well, this was a high-profile case, one, not only just in the media, but in social media, all right? This was a big case amongst social media creators. In fact, it was Turtle Boy who brought this whole thing to life, okay? Now, somebody tell me this. Now, number one, in trials, especially high-profile trials like this, like big ones, we know that both the defense and the prosecution, they use media as a tool. They want to put their side out there. They all do it. We saw it in the John Benet Ramsey case. We saw it in the Gypsy Rose case. They use the media to push out their narrative, right? That is not unheard of. I don't know why people are acting like, oh my God, we got, people out here pushing out narratives. No, the media, social media included, are used all the time as tools to push out narratives, okay? So that, I don't understand that whole bit. I don't understand the whole, you know what I mean? Can she appeal the guilty verdict? No. But then somebody tell me why with all of this whole, we all know what happened with Turtle Boy, and they think that he had something to do with tampering with witnesses, whatever. They're going after him hardcore, and, this one used this one for media gain or whatever. Somebody tell me why, if you were so concerned about Turtle Boy going after witnesses, which I don't believe happened, however, if you're so concerned about somebody like Turtle Boy, these social media influencers or these mainstream media people pushing out their narratives and contacting people, why did the judge not sequester the jury?
That's the real question.
Especially when mainstream media, as well as hardcore social media content creators, hit this up so hard. Why is the jury not sequestered? Why do they have access to all of this information when you're sitting there putting charges against Turtle Boy, saying that he did this? Why would you not sequester the jury, at least in the second trial, right? Make it make sense.
Them not sequestering.
The jury was not sequestered.
That is, to me, a huge red flag. I don't know about anybody else, but
it is an extremely big red flag, especially when you're accusing media outlets and content creators of tampering with witnesses and contacting witnesses and, all of this stuff, if you're saying that happened with the first trial, then why did you not sequester the jury the second trial? Somebody make the rulings of this judge make sense to me, because I cannot. I don't understand it. You want to sit there and talk about an injustice. Everything that is happening in this case, in this trial, is nothing but a whole shit ton of injustice. In my opinion, of course. The non-sequestered jury just throws me big time too. That's one of those things that I just don't understand, especially when you're sitting there and you are going after people like Turtle Boy, and you're sitting there making accusations that he's contacted witnesses, and then you have, I don't remember that other woman's name. I don't remember the other woman's name, who was supposedly paid $1,500 by the last DA to put out information and make a big stink about how she's guilty and all of that. Like, literally, all of this is happening in the first trial, and you didn't sequester the jury with the retrial. Nobody is questioning the actions of this judge. I feel like judges have too much power, in my opinion. Nobody oversees what they're doing. Like, I feel like there needs to be some kind of checks and balances with these judges, because she's literally, why make that make sense? Why would you not sequester the jury if you were in the first trial are going after media for trying to contact witnesses and saying that all of this stuff was paid by each side, and they're contacting and threatening witnesses and doing all this stuff? You're making these accusations. You're arresting these people, these content creators, these mainstream media people. Like, you are literally charging these people with tampering. Meanwhile, you didn't sequester the jury in the retrial. Why? Why is nobody overseeing all of the bias, all of the, that's
And you're worried about witnesses. That just doesn't make any sense. Like, how are you worried about witnesses being tampered with, but it's like weird.
But you wouldn't sequester the jury? Especially the fact that, let's be real, she's got documentaries out now. With this retrial, she's been doing a lot of interviews, which, everyone has. Let's be real, it's not just the Karen Reed thing. Look at any trial, any case. They all use the media. But if you're going to sit there and you're going to arrest and accuse and charge people with tampering, why would you not be concerned about it happening a second time? Even more so because it's got a bigger name now.
Exactly. It's so high profile at this point.
Yep. And she felt like she didn't need to sequester the jury. Guys, just, don't watch anything. Don't Google anything. Don't go on social media. Okay.
Well, and what I find kind of interesting, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that area and town really back the blue. So they think, in my opinion, they think that because these are cops involved, she's the one that's going to take the downfall, because cops don't do that. Cops aren't, and unfortunately, it's aiming towards these cops and their wives.
They are all protecting each other. And this group of cops just happens to be a really close-knit family and friends. And it's so obvious. And to sit there and act again like these things just don't happen is wild. Because I can assure you, I know of many cases it happens. I know it's almost the same case out in LA that's happening right now with all of this nonsense. Albert, you know what? Free Karen Reed. Yes, I see your comment. Hold on, give me 1 second. Let me just adjust myself in my chair. You're absolutely right. Albert and Higgins went to another cop's funeral in New York City the day before John O'Keefe's but can't go to his. Why did none of them go to his funeral?
Mm-hmm.
I love them. They're all testifying. I love him. He was like family. We loved him. We weren't just friends. We loved him. He was like our family. I don't know about y'all, but I go to my family's funerals.
And
Mm-hmm.
Breath of Grace said, her husband is in law enforcement, and he even says they seem dirty. And unfortunately, I'm not saying all cops are. That's not, the debate or anything. I'm just saying these ones are very suspicious. In my opinion, I find it very odd that they didn't go look for him. They know what they're looking for. They didn't go look for him. They sat in the
You said
house.
what? Snowstorm.
And the way they
Yeah.
collected evidence and solo cups and all of
Yeah.
that that's not professional. This is, yeah, maybe a smaller department, a smaller town, but it's a big area, honestly.
Yeah.
And they're the ones investigating it. They didn't bring in another department.
Which
Am
I
I
think they
correct?
should have. Yeah.
The shock heads.
I believe that, that should be like the thing, that they bring in another department from another town or county to investigate this, since he was police officer and police officers were the last to see him.
No, HL, they didn't even go into the house.
Because
Nope.
do you think I'm gonna search my house to see if I robbed you? Come on now.
They never even cornered off a crime scene. They never quarantined a crime scene. Like they
And the house
never.
was sold. Why did they sell the house?
That's what I'm saying.
And get rid of the dog.
They got rid of the dog, re-cemented the basement where I think the actual crime happened, and then sold the house below market value.
Right.
And everybody got rid of their phones.
And not just got rid of them, they destroyed the SIM cards, and then one of them tossed them on a military base, but they all destroyed their phones a day right before they were formally told not to destroy any evidence. What are the odds? Make it make
Right.
sense.
I also think that they should be doing this trial in another town.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, change of
In
venue.
another
Wait.
town, because I don't know, it's a band of brothers that are banding together, unfortunately, and it's happened across, I mean, you can look at other police departments, and I'm not saying all cops or anything like that, but there are other police departments that have done things like this and they've gotten away with it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and that's any job too. Any military, police, fire department, doctors, nurses, insurance agents, whatever. There are good and bad, and I think that maybe it wasn't intentional, but they played a hand in it. And Karen did not. She was just the easy person because she's not well liked. She's really not.
Yeah. And that's another thing. Yeah, they didn't separate any of the witnesses that when they investigated, they didn't separate the family. Not only that, but right after this all happened, Jen McCabe and Kerry Roberts sat down and made a timeline before they were.
Oh, it is in another town. Correct. Sorry.
Yeah, another town, but very close by. I wouldn't even have done it in the state if you want to. If I'm being honest, like I would have moved that to the little corner, itty bitty somewhere, that nobody knows about, because there's no way people didn't know about this nonsense. You know what I mean? It's like, come on, make it make sense. But yeah, when they were questioned, the family sat there, they were gathering, they were all talking about everything that happened, sitting in a room, all of them talking and going over and making a timeline. They were making a timeline about what happened that night before they were even questioned by investigators.
And they still can't get their story straight.
And they still can't get their story straight. Exactly. It makes all of this, it's a hot mess. trying to get their lies straight. Exactly. I said this. I didn't say this. No, I unintentionally lied. I've never unintentionally lied. Oh, I didn't hear him say that. I heard it. What?
And I think that they didn't
Literally
think that
perjury with glitter on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I think that they didn't think the defense was going to come the way they did with the actual evidence of everything. I think they kind of thought it was going to be quick and easy. Karen backed into him. And the other thing, was it Jen McCabe at the screen door?
Yep.
And she said, "Oh, they just left." Well, wouldn't you text your friend and be like, "Hey, where'd you guys go? Are you okay?" No, they just left. I watched them back out and I went back inside.
Mm-hmm.
Well, if you're coming over to my house and you pull in and then you just leave, I'm going to text you or call you and ask if everything's okay. And that didn't happen.
Nope. And then even during did you hear Jen McCabe's testimony canceled? Where they were asking her, like, okay, so you're looking out the screen door, right? And you see straight ahead is Karen Reed's car, right? They never saw John O'Keefe. So we don't even know, right, that we can't even verify he's in her car. Because no one ever saw him in her car.
Right.
We're just assuming he was in that car.
Yeah.
That he didn't get dropped off by somebody else, okay? He's in the car. Then they were asking him about the Jeep and the truck. Do you remember that? And she's like, well, no, yeah, I saw it. It was the Jeep and then the truck with the headlights behind it. And they were like, so you saw the Jeep still there? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, in the same couple of minutes of questioning, it's, well, I don't know if I saw the Jeep and the truck. I just saw the lights.
It was too dark, but I saw the lights. So did you see the lights and you saw lighting, or did you not see the lights or it was dark? Which one is it?
Did you see the Jeep or you didn't see the Jeep? Well, I saw it. I think I saw it. Well, I'm not sure what I saw now. Like, what?
And if you notice, they keep saying, I believe.
Yeah.
I believe. Nothing is ever solid, concrete. I know, I saw. This is what, like, nothing is confirmed. Everything is not a straight answer. And that's just odd for a case like this, for them not to have a straight answer.
And Crazy Asian just said most of the responding cops got promoted after April.
Yep.
So that's what I've been wondering. Who's gotten promotions? Like the crash investigator that came out for the prosecution, he was visibly shaking and scared.
He was so scared. Y'all, I thought he was going to drop dead of fear right on the stand. It was kind of funny to watch. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Holly, I do think they're being coached
I
to
do
answer
too.
the way that they are. Because what do they have on others that they've done maybe incorrectly that can take their career? And of course, these wives, they're gonna back their husbands. That's their livelihood, you know.
I agree, Christy. Christy Bateman just said you would think that John's family would want justice, not a cover-up. Exactly. However,
But John's sister passed away. The sister's husband passed away. What the hell is up with that?
Yeah. So John O'Keefe got custody of his niece and nephew because his sister passed away. I believe it was a car accident, guys. Am I right in saying that? And then not too short of a time later, the husband passed away. So these two people are dropping dead. Now he's got custody of a niece and nephew. And it was cancer that she died of? A brain tumor? And what about the husband? Was the husband in the car accident? I feel like one of them was in a car accident. Oh, 2 months later, he expired of a heart attack.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Free Karen Reed just said John's mom doesn't like Karen. Well, also they live in that same, they live in the town, like with cops and everything. If they go against them, what's that going to mean for them too?
Yeah.
And they don't like Karen. So is it easier just to turn an eye and agree because their son was a cop?
But
And they don't want to think that?
Isn't it sad and scary, though, because you don't like someone, you want them to be guilty? Like, how do you see that this woman is guilty? She She was the one rendering care to your son, trying to save him. Well, in my opinion, Jen McCabe sat in that car because, let's be real, we all heard that with the windshield wiper, she wasn't over there trying to do CPR. And then you got Kerry Roberts, who I think was just, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think she was trying to help out too much. And isn't it funny that Karen Reed and Jen McCabe were not friends and now all of a sudden they're besties? But yeah, Karen Reed was the one rendering aid, was the one flipping out trying to save him. Not Jen McCabe. Not Jen McCabe who testified that he's family. I love him. He's like my family. No, she didn't. She wasn't the one trying to render aid. It was Karen, who had blood all over her face because she was trying to give CPR. And the first response, and so the 911 dispatcher did not stay on the line. They hung up and said, if you need me, call me back. So yeah, that's wild. So my whole thing is, originally, if you watch it, Karen Reed wanted to go back to the bars to see if maybe he came out of a bar and passed out there, or was at a bar somewhere. It was Jen McCabe who suggested, let's drive back to 34 Fairview, which is her sister's house. Why didn't you just call your sister, Jen? Right? Why didn't you call your sister? My first reaction would not be to get in a car with some woman who's, one, still drunk and extremely upset, driving around in a blizzard. My first reaction would be to call my sister and be like, hey, did John pass out there? Check the basement, check the couch. Did he knock out? Did, I got Karen here a little upset. Wouldn't that be your first reaction? Is to call before you get into a car in a blizzard and drive over there? But you see, she didn't call. Why didn't she call? Not because she didn't want to wake up her sister. Let's all be for real. If you're concerned about your friend, you wake up your sister, right? She went over there because she needed that body to be found. She needed somebody else other than the owner of that house, the cop, to find that body. So she had to make sure that Karen Reed got over there. She had to make sure.
Because if she didn't, what would have been the storyline?
Exactly. Karen is absolutely innocent, in my opinion. And I don't know how anybody else can see anything different. Not even that. There's no way that this jury can convict her. Because I don't know about everybody else, but all I see is reasonable doubt written all over everything. Anytime I look into anything in this case, I get slapped with reasonable doubt. There's no freaking way that they can convict her and it was an honest, you know what I mean? Especially if you're watching this trial, the lies, the admittance of lies, being caught in the lies, the stating that your prior testimony is lies, but trust me now, I'm telling the truth now, all of it. The evidence,
But the truth never changes. And when the truth starts changing, you have to question everything.
Yes. The truth should never change. The truth should never change. Somebody just said they emailed me. Hold on, let me check my emails. I do not have an email. Whoever just said that they sent me an email, I'm sorry, I did not receive it. Caitlin and Tristan, supposedly I did hear that Chloe the dog is in Vermont. However, I don't know that anyone has actually seen that dog since you watched the first trial I'm watching now. I feel so bad for Karen. We all know she's innocent. It's so obvious. Absolutely obvious. It's kind of crazy.
Listen, they John O'Keefe that dog, okay?
Yeah, they did. They did. And in fact, do we have proof of life for Chloe? Because I think she might be underneath the basement floor. I'm just saying. Just saying. Honestly, if they're doing their job correctly, this jury can't see anything but reasonable doubt.
Yeah, because why is the dog missing? Why is everybody lying? Why did they move? Why did they, none of it, come on now. Anyone would.
Why did your friend is dying on the front lawn and you didn't go you didn't go run in your brother-in-law's house and grab him to come help? How does that would be, if I'm on my sister's front lawn and someone's dying on her front lawn, I think my first reaction, even before I call 911, would be to run in and get my sister to help or get my brother-in-law to help. You get out here, you help, and I'll call 911. Or I'd be calling 911 as I'm running through the door. I wouldn't wait till his body's gone and then be like, oh yeah, I went in there and I woke them up. No, you didn't wake them up. Come on, the sirens did. The screaming out front did. The lights from the fire truck and the ambulance and all of this. Come on, man. Come on. And they were sleeping the entire time. Bullshit.
Then also during the whole trial, every
Yeah.
time someone's lying, the sirens go off.
Yeah. Yes. Has anybody been watching the trial recently? Every time they're in a big lie and they're getting caught in a lie, nobody heard the sirens and the horns outside going off? It has happened so
And
far.
normally the judge calls
Yep.
shortly after that.
Christy, did you see the horns and the sirens going off when they're lying and they're caught in the lie? It's always at the same time. Yep. It's wild. It is broadcasted live, yeah. It's crazy. Guys, it's on Law and Crime on YouTube. They have it. The sirens are always going off when they're lying. I know y'all think I'm crazy when I say that, but no. At first I thought I was a little nuts, like, wait, did I hear that? Then the third and fourth time, I'm like, y'all gotta hear this. And I showed it to them because I'm like, do you guys hear these sirens going off every time they're lying? And it's not like I just think they're lying. It's like they're literally being called by the defense, caught in the lie, and the sirens are going off and blaring, the horns are blaring. I'm like, come on. It's like they're telling them, shut up. Like, it's so obvious. It's crazy. Yeah, the FBI absolutely shouldn't. And then you sitting there talking about the lead investigator, Michael Proctor. Don't even get me and him or the Sally Port. We haven't even gotten there yet, but we can get into that another day because him tampering with that car, I believe, in my opinion, that Michael Proctor, the lead investigator who has now been fired by the state police, I believe that he is the one that broke the glass of her headlight. I think that he's the one who put his hair on the car. And I think that when he went back to investigate the next day, that's when that was put there. I don't believe that those pieces of the taillight were actually there. I believe he put them there the next day after they all...
No, because based off the cameras, it didn't show that.
Right. Now, if you look at the Sally Port video, number one, Michael Proctor lied in his testimony in the first trial, stating that he had that car picked up and delivered to the Sally Port at 4:30 when it was actually 5:30 or 6:30. It was like an hour or two later. So why lie, dude? And then when it got there, it looks like when you watch the video of him being there, he's in the corner and it looks like he's by the driver's side taillight, right? That's what it looks like in his video. However, the video was mirrored. And so if you mirror the video and you can see that it's mirrored, he was actually on the opposite side of the taillight. So he was the one who was left alone in that area with that headlight, with that car in the Sally Port. So tell me how he didn't break that glass. Tell me how he didn't get that evidence. And then he went back to the Albert's house to investigate more. And that's when all of the pieces of glass from the taillight were found. Make it make sense. And then that's when hair was found on the bumper. The fuck out of here. Come on, guys. He was hit by a car and there's going to be his hair on the... I mean, what was he doing? Bending over? He was bending over. So that's what we're at. He was bending over behind a car for no reason at all, and that's when he was hit. Y'all, make that make sense. Because that's what they're trying to say now. He was bending over. One, if he was bending over and he got hit, wouldn't he have went down to the ground and been rolled over? He wouldn't have been moved up. He would have been, like, rolled over. Right? Like, make it make sense. The hair stayed on the bumper. Right. Chris, you're not lying. The hair stayed on the bumper in the snow on the tow truck going 55 miles per hour. Come on, man. That's what I'm saying. That strand of hair stayed there the entire time. Again, the magic sorcery that surrounds this whole case is unreal. Unreal. Makes no sense. But again, now all of a sudden he was bent down when he was hit.
Yeah, it just doesn't.
He
That
would have
part definitely doesn't
rolled
add up.
over. He wouldn't have got booted in the air. Guys, y'all, think about it. How long does a strand of hair stay on a car? That's funny. Y'all with the house long are killing me. It's so funny. It was frozen to the car. Guys, a piece of hair frozen to the car? No.
How would the hair freeze to a car?
No. It's hair. It's hair. I don't see that. There were footprints that put them laying in the snow. You mean there were footprints that show that the pieces of glass were laying in the snow? How long was Proctor by the taillight? Y'all, Proctor was by that taillight long enough to rip pieces of glass out of it. I'll tell you that right now. I want to show the video. I don't know. Maybe next time we do a live about this, I'll show the videos so you guys can see them. Because I'd like to show the video of the Sally Port. And I want to show you guys not only just Jen McCabe's 911 call, but the audio that John O'Keefe's voicemail picked up. That you can hear the non-stop windshield wipers going, which means Jen McCabe lied. She never went up towards the body. She was in the car the entire time. She never left. And then you can hear.
She lied. When did she stop lying?
Right? Then in that audio, you can hear Karen Reed screaming, "Are you going to fucking help?" Like,
yeah, so why would she be saying that if what she's saying, they were helping?
Is Alan Jackson still cross-examining Jen McCabe tomorrow? So tomorrow morning we'll resume the cross-examination of Jen McCabe, which the first 2 days, y'all, was wild. So this is going to be a doozy because she's already been caught lying once, and I'm here for it.
Well, she's practiced her lines now, I'm sure.
They admitted that they were in there practicing with the prosecutor. Come on, man. How many times can you practice and you still can't lie right? You know what I mean? Like, they had... My memory is better 3 years later than it was 6 weeks after the thing happened. The fuck?
My memory is better after I practiced, basically.
Yeah. It's the nonsense for me. It's the I don't do stupid too well. So it's those stupid explanations that really just get to me. They really aggravate me. Her not answering yes or no makes me so mad. Who just said that? HL, I want to jump through the screen, not more than I do. I feel you. Correct? Yes or no? And then she goes into this long tangent, which is not actually answering the question that he asked. So he tries to interrupt her and say, no, just answer yes or no. And there's the judge going, no, let her answer. She needs to be able to finish answering the question. Meanwhile, the answer has nothing to do with the question he asked. She's going on a tangent for sympathy from the jury. It's wild. And this judge is allowing it to happen, guys. It's crazy. That wouldn't be allowed in any other trial. Absolutely not. No. The judge should shut her down. The judge herself should be shut down. She's talking about an ice cream truck. Yeah, for real. Yeah,
the judge needs to be removed off that case.
Yeah, the judge is an absolute joke. I don't understand. She needs to be able to control the situation for her friends. So she can't recuse herself. She should have, though. Amber Heard was not that good of a performer, man. And we all know Amber Heard was good. But even this takes the cake. This one takes that case and blows it out of the water with the nonsense. I mean, it's wild.
It is. It's very wild because to even allow this to even happen is just absurd.
Yeah. Does anyone here follow Turtle Boy, guys? If you don't, go give him a follow. He's the one who broke this case. So he's a really good source of information. And then you could see what's going on with his case because, well, we all know he has a case now because charges were pressed.
I didn't know that until today.
Yeah. Let's hope
But I
that
didn't really know much about, because I wasn't watching content creators on this.
yeah, me
I was
neither.
just looking at, the evidence. I don't know. It's all so crazy.
It is. I just, I really, guys, trust me when I tell you, nobody wanted this woman to be guilty more than me. I really was coming into this like this is a far-fetched scenario. I'm not big on the whole, there's conspiracy theories and then there's conspiracy theories, right? So I literally, the second I started watching her interviews and her documentaries and just watching her speak, on YouTube, just me. It's better to follow Turtle Boy on YT. But when I'm watching her speak and I'm really not liking her, like I wanted to think that she was guilty because I just didn't like her. However, not liking someone doesn't make them a murderer. And so I just don't understand what these people that are like, oh, she's guilty, justice for John O'Keefe. Is that justice for John O'Keefe to blame somebody who didn't really do it? I mean, all of this injustice, and they're all going to scream justice. Wild. But I can't see it, guys. I can't see how she could have hit him. And even if you're going to say that maybe she did hit him, all right? Then if she could have possibly hit him, then that means anybody driving on a snowy road could have also hit him, right? Just saying. It's just wild to me. Just too much reasonable doubt. All of us want to know what really happened to John O'Keefe. I don't know that we are going to get any, I think there's, what we're seeing, and there's still a crazy story in between somewhere. He just was not hit by a car, guys. In my opinion, I think the most far-fetched of all of this is the fact that he was hit by a car. And his injuries just don't say accident by a car. They just don't say it. I mean, his face, he had 2 black eyes. Granted, it could be from the skull fractures. However, he looked like he was beat the hell up. Out of all of these people, do you believe one of them will break? Yes. Yes, I do. I personally think that Kerry Roberts is going to be the first one to break out of the friends. And I think that Proctor is going to speak because he's going to be held responsible for a lot. He was already fired from the state police because of his inappropriate messaging about Karen Reed and all of that. So I think of the 2 people out of all of this, I think will speak first. I believe it's going to be Kerry Roberts because, again, she didn't really know them all that well. She was just friends with Karen and John. They knew of her, but they weren't friends. And so I think that she might be the first one to break because she's going to be like, Jen, I'm not going down with you, because I don't believe that Kerry Roberts played a part in any of this. I think that she just happened to be there. Karen called her for help, and she just happened to be collateral damage. And I think that she became friends with them at first because of, let's be real, the perks of being a cop's friends, like the family friends. However, I think that she's not going to be willing to go down for Jen McCabe, and I think the fact that she's already being caught lying on the stand is going to make her realize, shit, I'm looking bad, and I'm not going down for this with her. So I think that Kerry Roberts will be one of the first people to talk, and I also believe that Proctor, with all of this looking really bad on him, I believe that Kerry Roberts knows now that it is a cover-up. I believe she knows now. However, during it, I believe that she was just collateral damage and that Jen McCabe needed her help and they became friends. I think that Kerry Roberts was just collateral damage in this. I don't think she had anything to actually do with it. I think she was a friend that Karen reached out to and was willing to help. She wasn't at the bar that night. She wasn't drinking. I think that she's just collateral damage. And I think that now she knows it's a cover up and now she's involved. But I think that's why she's going to be the first one to break, to save her own ass. And I also believe that Proctor is going to get in a lot of trouble. Not only was he already fired, but I think that there's going to be a lot of threats made against him for all of the mistakes he made, why it looks really bad on all of them because of the stuff that was found out about him and his text messages and all of that. And I believe that Proctor has nothing left to lose. And I think before he goes down hardcore, he's going to take them all with him. And I think that he's not going down by himself. And I think that he'll be another possibility to break first. I'm sure that Proctor is going to be a witness again. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think he will. And you all mentioned someone had Googled about the frozen body thing. Is that being used in court? You know what? Yes, it is. They have already discussed the house long to die in the cold. Parts of it. Everyone, we have different experts talking about it. You know what I mean? Like it's been brought up a couple times. The Google search, yes. It will be brought up. It has already been brought up again in the retrial. If the prosecution doesn't call him defense, we'll call him as a hostile witness. Absolutely. I agree with you, Jenny. They will. They absolutely will. So that's what I believe. Answer me this, because I haven't heard anyone talk about it. How would they have moved the body? That there was a crap ton of men in there. I mean, you're talking about big old men.
Move the body. That
A
would
bunch
be.
of them. You had Colin Alberts, you had the two nephews, you had Brian Higgins, you had Brian Albert, there was crazy amounts of people in there. They would very easily move that body without being noticed by anybody. Dude, it was snowing, guys. What time was he actually put out there? It was a blizzard.
And if somebody noticed, you think they're going to tell on all those cops?
Yeah. First of all of them happened to have their Ring cameras off on that same day. They knew. I believe that they know. How are all of their Ring cameras off, guys? Everybody on that block just happens to turn their Ring cameras off and forget to plug them in or turn them on or charge the battery all on the same day? If he was injured too, he was incapacitated. Exactly, yeah, absolutely. I absolutely believe that he cracked his skull on the basement floor after a fight. That's my opinion. I don't believe he was dead in that basement. I believe he was still groggy. He might have lost consciousness, came back to, just couldn't, he was pretty badly hurt. I think he was just out of it, you know what I mean? Look at his eyes, look at his head. He had multiple fractures in his skull.
See, I don't want to speculate on what actually happened because I don't know, but what I do know is what they're saying doesn't make sense.
Right. Yep. And again, what is the motive for Karen Reed? Because she didn't like him? She wanted to be with somebody else. They weren't married, weren't her kids. She could have just left. Like, there was no... You know what I mean? But what was the motive for the men? Well, you have Higgins, who was texting sexually to, you know what I mean, to Karen Reed. And so it could have been like John O'Keefe was a little angry when he found out. That's understandable, right? And he approaches him, says something. And then you have Colin Albert, which I need to look into that more before I ever bring that up. So, but yeah, then you have some issues with Colin Albert because of the drug thing. Yeah, but I have to look more into that. I can't say that that actually went down factually because I have not seen any hardcore proof of that. However, you know what I mean? Like, that's something I have to look more into. But when I do, and when I find the evidence, or when I can show that that was actually a thing, I will definitely bring that to you guys. Are the expert witnesses local too? Some of them, yeah. Yep. Two of them started to play fight at the bar. Brian Higgins and Brian Albert started to play fight at the bar that night, yeah. So, yeah. So, Colin Albert's parents, Chris and I can't think of the wife's name, were they lived in Meadows. They were John O'Keefe's neighbors. So yes, that's absolutely true. Not Allie going, I hope the dog is okay. I do too. I don't know where poor Chloe is, but justice for Chloe as well. Just saying. Julie, yes.
Chloe was John O'Keefe, okay?
Yeah. Chloe might have been O'Keefe, man. Just saying. I hope not, but they said that she's in Vermont, but we have seen proof of life? Because I haven't seen no proof of life. Chloe's in the field. Someone did say something about them filling in the pool. Now, I haven't seen proof of that. I have to look into that too. But I did hear that the pool might have been filled in. However, I don't know that to be fact. I'd be jackhammering the pool. Chloe's gone if she's in that pool. I'm just
First of
saying.
all, they didn't post a picture, bring a picture of Chloe, nothing.
Nope. Yep, they re-cemented or reconcreted or whatever is on that basement floor, yeah. Which cost a lot of money. Have any of you guys ever laid concrete or cement? Like, that's expensive to do. And then you took that, not only did you pay for that to be done, then you took and sold the house at a loss. Like, you have money like that, or were you in a rush to get rid of everything? I'm just saying. There's that. You know? Apparently, it was a friend of Albert's who did the construction. Yeah, but still, it costs money. Like, it's not cheap. It's not free. They needed that house.
Even just the material.
Yeah. Yeah, it's expensive. And it was the family house. Didn't he get that from his parents, I believe? Yeah.
Mhm.
It was the family house. Ooh, I just got here. Do you think Karen is innocent? Yes, Gia, I absolutely believe Karen is innocent. I do not believe that John O'Keefe was hit by a car. I want to hear thoughts on, do you think they would have killed Karen if she had went back? If she had went back to the house? I don't know. No, I think this would have played out differently if Karen had gone into the house that night, Leslie. I don't think that they killed John O'Keefe on purpose. I don't think this was a let's gang up on him thing. I don't believe that this was a premeditated thing. I think that they were all drinking. I'll say, yeah, I'll mention that in 1 second. I do believe that they were all drinking and words might have been exchanged. People starting to get drunk, get a little cranky towards the end of the night. Everyone's getting beer muscles. And I think that a fight ensued. And it might have been words exchanged, and like one fight leads to another, and you know what I mean? Accidents happen, and I think that's what happened. I do. I don't think it was premeditated. I don't think they did it on purpose. However, I do believe the cover-up was on purpose. HL just said, Ivory, did you see the rock in the yard the day the jury went to the house? Yes, I did see the rock in the yard. It was actually a pretty big stone, and had red, white, and blue writing, paint on it, and it said Alberts. That was not there. That wasn't there before the jury went out to take a field trip to go look at this house. It was on that lawn the morning the jury got there. Everyone has different reasons on why they think it's there. I personally think it was there to give the jury reasonable doubt on, look, if he was hit by a car, he could have hit his head on this rock, which was in the front of the yard near the flagpole. I think that was strategically placed there, and it offers, because everyone kept saying, well, what did he hit his head on? The curb? You can't go flying and then hit your head on the curb first,
Right.
and then go flying. So people kept saying, like, if he was hit, well then, what did he hit his head on? The snow? But I think that rock was placed there to give
The
a
illusion.
reason for back of the head. Now the people who own that house said that is not theirs. That was not there. That was placed there. So yeah, I still think that they're tampering and playing games. Yep. Absolutely. I don't know how they. Well, I mean, if they went and checked
They
the area,
can't afford for her to not get convicted. That's the issue.
that's the problem. That's the problem. And I can assure you, I'm not saying that she's not going to get convicted.
Yeah, it's a possibility. And I think if they have the, you never know if the jury is in your pockets or what is really going on behind the scenes. So I don't think it's impossible for her to be convicted and be innocent. Um, but I will say I do feel like there would be enough for it to be overturned.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I absolutely agree.
Because there's just too much that is so outlandish and so far left that I would find it hard to believe that I just, and the story's changing, them saying that, the main thing to me, just me looking at it just from a legal standpoint, I think just the fact that they said that their statements were lies, basically.
Yeah.
That's enough to really, or should be enough. If it was the right judge sitting on that bench that was following the rules, it would have been thrown out then. Once they heard the indictment was based on lies, there would be nothing else to argue.
Yeah. Yep. Koala just brought up a good point. She said the clothing was in possession for 6 weeks before it was tested. That is true. They did hold his clothing for 6 weeks before they tested it and found the pieces of glass from the taillight on it. Or there was no glass from the taillight on it, was there? No. There was no glass found on the clothes. It is really frustrating, Holly. It is absolutely frustrating. But honestly,
If they do find her guilty, the only thing that I think they would find her guilty is on the manslaughter, and not because I believe she did it, but because the proof that she had admitted to drinking, they took the blood and saw that she was intoxicated. I think that would be enough to convict her of that, simply because of the fact that she admitted to drinking.
yeah,
The
but
question is not whether,
my whole
but
thing
you,
with that is admitting to drinking and being drunk does not mean you murdered someone. So you can't
no, it
someone's
doesn't. But
manslaughter and say that somebody ended up dead because she's drunk. That'd be, a lot of potentially guilty people out there.
yes, but the argument is not right now. Like, if you notice what the defense is arguing, is they're not arguing if there was if he was actually hit by a car or not. They are arguing that she did not hit him,
Right,
right?
right,
That's the argument. Not that he
right.
didn't get hit by, even though we know that he didn't get hit by a car, right?
Right.
The argument is whether she did or not. Well, they're saying, well, it's enough to say, yes, she was intoxicated. They're saying, yes, she did hit him.
Right. So the prosecution is saying
I
yes, she
think
did hit
it'll
him
be,
with the
yeah,
car.
I think if they
And
do
so
get
the
her,
defense is saying no, she did not hit him with the car.
right.
But her being drunk does not give evidence to support
No,
that he was
but
hit by a car.
also her charges of murder is not supported based off of the cause of death.
Exactly. All of that is reasonable doubt. So if the jury convicts with a manslaughter conviction based on that, that's how can you? That right there is concerning to me because there's too much reasonable doubt
That's that.
to a
If I
manslaughter
had to
conviction.
assume, if they do get her, I would assume that would be what it is. Not, I'm not saying it's right. I don't think that she should be. But if they do get her, I would venture
That's
to
easy to
say,
say. Yeah, that's that. Because that's what they would have got her on last time. Because that's the one thing that they were hung over. They were hung over. That was the one thing that they were hung over was the manslaughter charge. However, my concern was, and they one of the jurors from the last trial spoke out, and they asked him, like, what was the thing that made you not convinced that it's for manslaughter? And his response was, he was actually had a medical background, and his response was, the wounds didn't add up with being hit by a car. You know what I mean? And so I don't know how many people were hung up is what I want to know. How many people couldn't decide? Because I feel like with that manslaughter charge, and how do you sit there if you're going to get somebody on a manslaughter charge, right, with a car being intoxicated, because that's the charge, then you would also get her on leaving the scene of the crime, right? That just comes along with the other. Yeah, you'd have to. So if they were saying that they found her innocent on leaving the scene of the crime and she didn't do that, but she left, you know what I mean? Like, how can you sit there and say it's manslaughter, but she didn't leave the scene of the crime? If she left and you're saying there was a crime, then she absolutely left that. There had to be one person hanging on, and that's what concerns me. Why was that one person hanging on? With all the tampering and everything else, I feel like, why was that one person hanging on? Now, do I know for a fact it was one person? No. But do I feel like it? Yeah. Because if you're going to get someone on manslaughter with a vehicle being intoxicated, then you might as well get them for leaving the scene of a crime. Because if he did get hit, then she left the scene of the crime. Right?
But how she?
But I don't understand. I feel like there might have been some jury tampering, which is why I feel like they should have been sequestered.
Well, if they're going to tamper, they're going to tamper regardless. But I think the outside would be the defense would be who they would have to worry about tampering. So that's where I don't understand it.
You think so?
Oh, yeah.
You think the defense is the one who has to worry? I feel like it's the opposite. I feel like the prosecution...
No, I'm saying yeah, the prosecution somewhat has to worry. But if they feel like they have... Listen, you don't know if they have these people in their pockets.
Right.
Because this is people all within the community or
Right.
the surrounding community, right?
Mm-hmm.
And who's to know if they ask them, do you have a medical background or not? And excluded them based on that.
What do you mean? How would they know?
No, I'm saying when they questioned the jury,
Yeah.
how do you know they didn't ask, well, do you have a medical background?
I don't.
Right. Those are all things that could be cause for concern.
And you don't know what they do today, too. They could be like, what do you do for a living? However, I could be a teacher today, but could have been an EMT 10 years ago. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just really, someone just said, how could she get charged leaving the scene? She dropped him off and came back and found him 6 hours later. If she left the scene and he died because of it, he died from hypothermia. That was one of the causes of death. So if she didn't leave, he would not have died, right? But she left the scene of the crime. So you have to charge her with, she didn't come back. She still left the scene of the crime. Just because she came 6 hours later, she still left initially. I just feel like, in my opinion, I think the prosecution needs her to be guilty so bad, because if she's not found guilty, then they're
on the hook.
questioning their own people.
Yeah, they're on the hook.
And so I feel like if anyone's gonna has more of a shoe in the stake in the game to tamper with the jury, it's the prosecution, because they need Karen Reed that bad to be guilty, or else they're all screwed. The judge, the cops, the ATF agent, like
any cases that they have handled
could
have cause to bring to be brought back up.
You know what I mean? So it's like, it's really, I mean, not that she doesn't have a stake in the game and she doesn't want to go to prison for the rest of her life unnecessarily. I get that. However, I think the person who has the most fear is the group of people that are going to go down because of it if she's not convicted. She's only one person. That's a whole entire, you're talking about different organizations, you're talking about ATF agents, you're talking about lead investigators with the state police, you're talking about Boston PD, you're talking about Canton PD, you're talking about a whole bunch of freaking people that are going to go down. The judge, let's be for real, Auntie Bev, ain't no innocent in this game. Auntie Bev's going down. What happened with the first prosecutor? What was his face? I can't think of his name. In the first trial, you know what I mean? Even he was,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? They were concerned about him paying people $1,500, Mass, whatever his name was. They were concerned about him paying people, weren't they?
Allegedly, yeah.
And I agree. If you did kill him, but then again, if I'm going to look at this fairly, I agree. If you did kill him, the last thing you would do is leave those voicemails. However, in all fairness, she was still drunk. You know what I mean? So it's like, you know what I mean? Like, could she have forgotten? I know. Who the fuck hits a guy and forgets?
No,
Like,
you don't.
even if you're drunk. I mean, we've all been piss ass drunk, but I'd forget. I
First
remember
of
killing
all,
someone.
that would be something that would wait. You would not be drunk after that.
That's what I'm saying. That's something that sobers you real quick. Murder? Vehicular homicide?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Hell yeah. That'll get you stone cold sober real freaking quick. So, yeah, I don't know. It's just, it's unbelievable to me. It's just a whole bunch of mess, but in my opinion, far too much reasonable doubt for all of us. In my opinion, far too much reasonable doubt for all of them. I mean, we know there's far too much reasonable doubt for second-degree murder.
And
And
even just the lies. Like, even if you just consider the lies that have been told and they've admitted to it not being the truth, the
yeah,
truth never changes. So if anytime the truth starts changing, there's always a question.
that means that what was said originally wasn't the truth. You don't the truth doesn't change. You don't and she was sitting there on the stand, McCabe and Kerry Roberts said the same thing. Both sitting there talking about how traumatized they were. They bonded and became besties over the trauma bonded over this situation. And that's why they were speaking so much about all of the events of that night over the years. And, it's been a trauma. You don't forget. I was in shock.
But I don't remember shit.
But meanwhile, you were so traumatized that you can never forget it, but yet you forgot what you said in the first trial because that was the truth. Make it make sense. Like you were so traumatized you can never forget it. Meanwhile, you gave 3 different versions of what was said that night. So how are you traumatized by what happened? You know what I mean? And I'll never. You're not. Either you lied back then or you're lying today. Either which way, you're lying. Oh, I don't remember. I don't recall. For someone who's so traumatized because of this memory, you don't recall an awful lot of what happened that night. So,
And the thing too is I feel like they're over trying to give details.
mhm.
And anytime someone over tries to give details, generally they're lying.
Oh yeah. Oh, she was saying everything 3 times. Everything was being said 3 times just to corroborate the fact that she lied initially and said that she said, I hit him, which she never said in the first trial. In the first trial, Jen McCabe stated that Karen Reed said, could I have hit him? Do you think I hit him? That's what she stated in the first trial that Karen Reed said. And then it went to this trial that no, she stated 3 times, I hit him. How did you forget that? Those are some pretty incriminating words. You're saying that was something that stuck in your head you'll never forget. Meanwhile, it changed. Those are 2 completely different words. I hit him, as a matter of fact, and could I have hit him? Are 2 completely different things.
Yes. One is a statement, one is a question.
Right. So, yeah. Nope, you weren't so traumatized by what actually happened that night because you can't get your thoughts straight and you have no idea what actually happened.
Oh.
Why? Well, because the truth never changes, and so that didn't really happen. What is it with the 3 time was because she stated eventually at some point during her story she changed it to I know she said it 3 times. I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. And so she's trying to prove she needs Karen to have said that because that's an admittance of guilt. However, that's not what she originally stated to both Proctor during the investigation, and that's not what she originally stated during the first trial. She never said that Karen
Or
Reed
to
hit us.
get the grand jury indictment.
Right, right. So, yeah,
And that's huge.
yes. How you can sit there and indict somebody
And
because
then say,
somebody
ah,
lied.
sorry, it was a jokey joke. I was lying.
I lied. I didn't mean to. Yeah, but the whole reason for the indictment is based off the fact that you witnesses lied.
Yep.
And now you're going to sit here in the trial that is happening because of the indictment and say, oh, I didn't mean to lie. Oops, that was a mistake. My bad. Like, what?
Or I
The only
misunderstood the
reason there's a
question.
trial is because you lied.
Or they're saying, I misunderstood the question. So if you misunderstood the question, I'm supposed to trust that you don't misunderstand it now?
Right. Yeah, I can't. I misunderstood. I didn't hear him say, did you hear her? You didn't. You really? He asked you 4 times. Like, come on. It's the most, it's just crazy to me. I just can't believe this is even happening. Not even that, but if you thought that she was drunk and she hit him because she was mad, he was behind the car, she didn't see him, and she reversed into him, what is up with the second-degree murder charge?
Right.
No, you needed that. You needed to make sure this woman was in jail for life because you knew she was going to argue the fact that she was innocent. You needed to make sure she was locked up away for a long time and that anything she said after she got locked up was null and void because you could never have anybody know the truth. I know, Susan. I can't wait for tomorrow either.
Because I wonder if she knows what actually happened. No, she doesn't. She couldn't.
No. I mean, I think now she knows what was happening at the time. You know what I mean? Like, here she is, too, trusting these people that she thought were friends, sitting in the car with her. Like, you know what I mean? Like, nobody knows what happened in that car, and here you are making up these lies about what she said in the car. It's just wild to me. Nobody has verified that she ever said, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him.
No.
There's no verification of any of that.
Nope. None. None. Whatsoever. None.
Yeah. It just, in my opinion, if you're going to be an adequate jury, then you have to see everything is questionable. If everything that they are saying can be questioned, then that means there's reasonable doubt. How did she get here then? Why did it all equals reasonable
Even
doubt.
just the Google. I mean, think about the Google alone to me is enough.
Yes.
Because why would she have Googled that?
At 2:30. At 2:30. And you know what? It sounds about right that maybe he was there for an hour and that's when they got into a fight. Like maybe the fight didn't initially start when he walked in the house. I'm sure they were drinking some more and hanging out and all of a sudden words were exchanged and it takes a minute for that to get escalated to a fight. You know what I mean? Which
Right.
means that yeah, at some point they dragged him out there and then at 2:37 she's sitting there like, well, how long does it take for him to die in the snow?
Right.
And the destroying of the cell phones. Let's be real. When I get a new phone, I don't go and rip out the SIM card and
No.
destroy the phone and then go throw it on a military base. Nor do I even rip out the SIM card and destroy the thing. I don't really destroy it. I either keep it, number one, in case you know what I mean, or if it's really badly broken, I'll just toss it in the trash. But like, why did you have to go through all that? Wouldn't you throw the phone away? Like, I just don't understand why you. What's your explanation for going through all of that to
In a
destroy the
military
phone?
base? Why?
Yeah, yeah. And let's be real. I have a million old broken phones. Stephanie just said that. I do too. I got a stack of them. In fact, I got one sitting here. My last phone is literally sitting here on my desk. And I've had this phone for about, I don't know, 8 months now. And my old one's still sitting here on the desk. Like, just sitting here. Like, I don't know why it's still here. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's not really that broken. And God forbid anything happens to this one, I'll just use that one again. You know what I mean? Like, we all do it. How many of
Not
us sit here and
everybody
destroy the
said, "Oh,
phone?
John died yesterday. Let's go get new phones."
Right, exactly. That's it's
In
wild,
honor
man.
of John, let's just go get some new phones.
All
Like,
at the same time, we're all going to destroy our phones and get new ones.
in honor of John, he couldn't find his phone, and we're just gonna honor him and go get new phones.
Yeah, we're going to call it the O'Keefe now. Let's just destroy our phones, whip out the SIM cards, bash the thing up, go chuck it on a military base, and get a new phone. Wild.
And while we're at it, let's just rehome this dog.
And get a new basement floor. And then
Yeah.
sell the house below market value. Let's lose some money on the house that we just put some money in, putting a new cement floor in, and not even get our money back for the work we put into it. Let's just sell it below market value.
Yeah,
Let's not
because
make
why
any
not?
money off our family home.
Because why not?
Yeah, I mean, what's the big deal? It's just money, right? And I mean, we don't care that we're going to sell the family home. Who cares? Our kids were raised here, and Daddy lived here, and all of it. Like, just let's just. I mean, you didn't care enough to go out and save the man when he was on your front lawn, but now it's bothering you that he died on your front lawn? What? It didn't bother you when the guy was dying. You stayed inside and just hung out. Like, what was the reason for you to sit there and sell it below market value? Below market value. Think about that. Quick sale, get rid of it fast. Sell it to the person who asked the least amount of questions, and let's call it a day.
That and
So it
everything
wasn't
else is
Proctor that dumped the
questionable.
broken cell phone on the military base. It was actually Brian Higgins, the ATF agent. The one who was having a texting relationship with Karen Reed. That's who did that.
Mm-hmm.
Was Brian Higgins.
Which that is probable cause.
Yes. And you gotta wonder, like, Brian Higgins is a whole police officer. I mean, Brian Albert. And then an ATF agent. Y'all knew what you were doing. You knew the fact that there was a whole investigation happening surrounding you personally. You knew that you should not have gotten rid of those phones. There's no way.
But they also knew the questions that they were going to ask and what they wanted. So they was like, yeah, let's just get rid of these.
Right. And I need people to understand something. Crush the SIM card, destroy the phone, throw it in the water, throw it wherever the hell you want. They're going to know who the hell you're calling for how long. They're going to know that you, quote unquote, butt dialed 15 times the man who's supposedly dead. They're going to know. You're not going to destroy it. You know what I mean? Like, I need people to understand that. It's pointless to destroy your phone. They're still going to get the records. Absolutely, they did. So it makes no sense. Maybe they didn't get some pictures on it. I don't know. But they still got the records, yes. She was watching You on Netflix and thought she'd get away with it for real. No pictures of the murder scene, really? That's another thing.
Yeah, that is another thing that I thought was weird, that they didn't have pictures.
The investigators, the cops investigating, never took a picture of one, John O'Keefe's body.
Or even the fact that they didn't even put him on a gurney.
They didn't take a picture of the area. They took no photographs of the crime scene. Y'all, I'm not a cop. I am not an investigator. I'm not a detective. I am simply just sitting here on freaking TikTok. But I know that you should take pictures at a crime scene. That's crime scene. We all know that. Had I been there, I'd have been like, dude, you want to borrow my camera? Because somebody needs to take pictures.
Not only that, they didn't even put him on a gurney. Why did they not put him on a gurney?
And later on, when they did take pictures, because they didn't take pictures initially, later on when they realized, fuck, we didn't take pictures, not them pulling out their own cell phones and taking some pictures, not you need to be
Did you
taking
hear me?
pictures. Yeah,
Oh, okay. I just want to make sure.
not that you shouldn't, you literally, when they finally did realize that, man, we messed up, we got to take some pictures, and they're out there taking pictures of nonsense now. You used your cell phone, your personal cell phone. I'm gonna need you to know you gotta use fucking department cameras. They got cameras for that. Not your cell phone, your private cell phone. Taking half-ass pictures days later of a crime scene. What? That's just crazy to me. All of this was done wrong, done horrible. You mean to tell me these people are in Canton, right outside of Boston? None of you all had any education in your department on a crime scene?
Which y'all have a lot of crime scenes, so make it make sense.
Yeah. It's just, yeah, it's crazy. Very little stay away. They have one, yeah, not the Stop and Shop paper bag that they put the evidence into, and the red Solo cups that the cop had to run. The other cop had to run to his personal house and grab Solo cups from his house to collect the evidence. You don't drive around with evidence collecting kits in your car in case? Yo, all the detectives. Like, wouldn't you keep a backup in your car? Boston is a high crime area, absolutely. If there is no cover up, why lie or change a testimony? Absolutely. Exactly. That's not protocol, so the evidence is no good. I agree. I don't know how they thought they were getting away with that nonsense. In my opinion, they should have all been fired. At the least, none of you can do your job. I mean, that goes without saying. Like, none of you knew what the hell to do. Or if you did, you just didn't do it. So either way, you should all be
But
like,
they knew they were going to keep their jobs. That's why, I mean,
right, right. Well, they originally thought they were all going to keep their jobs. Now that's the problem. Is they need Karen Reed to be guilty, or they're looking at charges. They're going to have to blame somebody for this. My camera in my yard records up to 100 feet. I know where my neighbors.
problem is, do we think that there would be enough evidence to convict someone else?
Yes, I do. I do. You're talking about Jen McCabe's all the phone recordings, the lying, the mishandling from the
No,
from the
but to
investigator.
convict them on the murder.
Um,
Because think about it. At this point,
no, not unless somebody.
circumstantial. Exactly.
I think they will all be investigated. I don't think they will get the charge of murder. However, I think there will be an investigation, and that right there can cause an awful lot of problem for these people.
Well, yeah, I mean, they were definitely tampering.
I don't think that they would get unless somebody breaks. And someone asked me before, if I think that someone's going to break, it's going to be Kerry Roberts or Proctor.
Yep.
Kerry Roberts is going to do it to save her ass because she got herself went way too deep, and she ain't trying to go down with the rest of them. And Proctor's got nothing left to lose. And if he's going down, everybody else he tried to cover for is going down with him.
Mm-hmm.
Because now they're all making him look that bad.
Yep.
And that's how I see that happening. And again, my mind can change. If somebody can show me something that can change my mind, I'm willing to change it. You know what I mean? I'm not dead set on this. If some kind of evidence comes up and somebody can show me something that says, well, look at this. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see anything that can change my mind on what I believe right now, just looking at the facts that I've seen. You know, and again, this is coming from somebody who kind of wanted her to be guilty. I was kind of hoping because I didn't like her. You know what I mean? But when you look at just the facts, you can't help but see what's going on. You just can't help it.
And the issue is if they get away with this, it's really sets a precedence of law enforcement to really just do whatever they want.
Right. Yeah. It really makes you worry that think about it. I mean, any one of us could have been Karen Reed at the wrong place at the
Yep.
wrong time that night, thinking we're just going out for some drinks with, the friends of my boyfriend, and you know what I mean? And that's really what we innocently thought we were doing. And then all of a sudden, a couple of hours later, I'm up on freaking murder charges.
Yeah.
So, you know what I mean? That's really scary to think that I'm here because the cops did it. It's a cover up, and now I may be going to jail for the rest of my life because they messed up, and now it's a cover up, and we're all going to cover each other's back. That's crazy to me. I think that's absolutely just too much for me. That any one of us could have been in Karen Reed's place. And again, she doesn't come from a big police officer family. She's got no ties to that, and she was an easy scapegoat. You know?
But everybody else does have the ties. And I
Everybody,
feel like that's a lot of volumes.
right down to the fact that Karen Reed, not Karen Reed, I'm sorry, Jen McCabe and Kerry Roberts were talking and hanging out with with Trooper Proctor's wife. How are you sitting in there getting information and talking with the lead investigator's wife? Because they're all friends. So of course his wife had to come out and check on him and ask him what happened, and let me tell you, you should do this, you need to make a timeline. She's the one who told him to make the timeline. Trooper Proctor's wife. Because they're all friends. Like, no one, like that's guys, come on. The lead investigator's wife said make a timeline. Lank's wife, you're right. They're all friends. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
It is. It's wild. It's
So,
wild when you think about it. It really just lets you know the level that we could all be screwed. But also, just everything about this and the testimonies. To me, the biggest thing that really gets me is the testimonies.
yeah. Yeah. To sit there and just use common sense and listen to what these people are testifying, you hear the lies. They're being caught in the lies right then and there.
And they're admitting to them at that time, but not directly saying I'm lying. They're like, yeah, but that wasn't true, but I wasn't lying. But like, if it's not true, you were lying, right? Like, because you just said it's not true. So how could it not be true and you're not lying? Like, explain that.
Yeah. Oh, John's mom told him to make the timeline right. So defensive, like they're trying so hard to keep a narrative right. It's just, and then not even that, but like they never separated the witnesses. They just let them sit there and congregate in the house, hang out, talk about stories. What did you know what I mean? They all already knew what the story was before they were even questioned. Like they didn't
can't get the damn story straight.
Witnesses. Well, I didn't think I was a witness. Well, what do you mean you didn't think you were a witness?
You were there, right?
Yeah. Our testimony is going to make a huge difference. I agree with you, Fun Smile.
What did they say?
The ARCA testimony, the expert testimony, is going to make a huge difference in this case.
Oh yeah.
I agree. I absolutely agree.
Yeah. There's a lot that I just I don't even know why the prosecutor would even retry this case. Like it's so absurd to me for them to retry it.
Yeah, I agree. I'm not gonna lie though, I'm super excited to hear the rest of Jen McCabe's testimony tomorrow because Alan Jackson was on fire.
Oh yeah, he was, man. first of all, what isn't helping her is the level that she is getting irritated.
Yeah. Yeah,
She's
she's good.
not a good witness because she's not able to keep her cool, like, at all.
Nope.
And she is just visibly very upset and irritated. And if you're testifying for your dear friend that you loved so much, why would you be getting irritated if what you were saying was true?
Yep. Yep, I agree. And
Yeah.
they did, and they messed up about saying the dog stays in the room. Yep.
Yep. And to the other thing is she has very smart aleck answers. And um, when it comes to the jury, you're always trying to present yourself in a way that you come across likable, because it's going to be their perception of you and the situation. And as a witness, for you to come across irritated and upset and smart alecky, it's just, it reads bad for the jury because
Yeah,
they don't know you.
I agree. But guys, it is after midnight for me. But I wanted to bring up one thing. Do you guys in the chat, do you guys remember Corey Michelow? Do you guys know who that is? Christopher Greger? Do you guys remember that case? The boy on the treadmill? Remember the little boy on the treadmill? The father, Christopher Greger, was charged for, yes. You guys remember him? That, yeah. So we have a live coming up. We reached out to Brianna, his mother, and so she has offered to do a live panel with both Nina and I, and speak about her case or Corey's case and what happened, just to bring awareness and to go over that story. And so I think that will be a very interesting live to have, so we can hear straight from her mouth the whole story. Again, to bring awareness to the whole situation, for poor Corey that I
He
followed.
really has a story to tell.
Yes, she does. That story broke my heart. I followed that story extremely close. I watched the entire trial, and that story really pulled at my heartstrings. That story really was one of those stories that I think will be embedded in my head for the rest of my life. Like, I remember me and my sister were just, it was just one of those stories that you just are never going to forget. It was Corey Michelow. His mother's Brianna. His father was Christopher Greger. His father was the one who was convicted of murdering the boy. Um, so yeah, we will be. We did reach out to her. She did agree to do a live panel, and so as soon as we get a little bit more information, it might be sometime next week. As soon as we get more information on that, we will put it out there. It was Jessica. It was a horrible. His mother. When I tell you, Corey's mother tried absolutely everything. She did everything a mother could do, should do, would do to try and help her son, to try and make somebody aware of what was going on. And everybody let not only Corey down, the boy, but his mother as well, because she did everything in her power that we would all do to save her son, to get, you know what I mean? She did everything that I think that you could do. And the system just failed them both. And it's,
Yeah.
look, like I said, it's just a heartbreaking story that this father was allowed to do that. So I will be doing some videos, just to bring, to bring that case out a little bit, and to give people some information. Definitely look it up. Justice for Corey, is his mother's page.
Because I don't feel like he even, honestly, I think what his dad, the time that his dad even got was, it just,
Wasn't enough
to
in
me,
my
it's
opinion.
not enough. And I, 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 don't really understand with how awful it was that that's all he got is baffling to me.
Yeah, it really was. So we'll be talking more about that case. Again, we're gonna have his mom telling her story. It will be alive. And I really want. I don't. I'm not. It's not going to be so much of an interview because I really just want her to tell her story, to bring awareness to what the story is. You know what I mean? She was there. She doesn't need me to question her. Really, we'll have some questions at the end, but really, it's more for just awareness for that boy and his mother and his whole family and all that they went through. The system really let them down. And it's a heartbreaking story, guys. If you don't know about it, definitely look it up. Again, Christopher Greger was the father. Corey Michelo was the little boy. Brianna is his mother. Her page is Justice for Corey, guys. Do me a favor, go give her a follow. Watch her content. She tells about the story. And it's really a great story to bring awareness to these situations of abuse and how the system can fail somebody. So it will most likely be sometime next week. As soon as I get the exact day, we will definitely put some information out there in our stories and videos and announce it. And so I just wanted to prepare you for that. I think that's going to be really interesting. And again, just to bring awareness and get this story out there, the more people we have in that live, the more people that we can help share this story that needs to get out there so people can see how the system failed. Corey, Justice for Corey. You can go to my follow list. I do believe I follow her. It's Justice for Corey, Corey is her page. So yeah, I just wanted to let you guys know that we have that going on and coming up, and we'll be working on that. I also want to say thank you guys. Yes, Corey, Mystic Red, that's it. Justice for Corey, stay awake, that's it. That is Brianna's, that's his mother's page. I just want to say thank you all. We got 218,000 likes. Thank you all for the follows, the likes. Do me a favor, if you're not following the panel, please follow them. If you're not following me and you're in here, guys, give me a follow. Thank you all for being here. And we are going to be going live about this case a lot more. So, guys, stay interested. Go check the things out and come back for a discussion next time. Guys, good night. Thank you, guys. Nina, have a good one.
Good night. Good night,
Good
everyone.
night, guys.